It is 4 p.m. We're bringing developing news and the stories behind the headlines. This is Storycon, the Story Conference. I'm Ed Lingao. Some stories for watching this Tuesday, June 10. In a few minutes, senators are set to take their oaths as senator judges or jurors in the impeachment trial of VP Sara Duterte. They will formally receive the articles of impeachment from House prosecutors tomorrow, June 11. Meantime, the Vice President is heading to Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia for a personal trip with her family. Her office says she will also attend the Philippine Independence Day celebration and meet overseas Filipino workers there during her trip. President Bongbong Marcos says Duterte's impeachment will clearly cross into the 20th Congress. The chief executive notes the trial is unlikely to be completed before new senators come in by July 2025.
This is really a function of the Senate right now, so we leave it to them. We are watching, of course, what the Senate President Jesus Cordero is doing to try to make it as a peaceful a transition as possible from this Congress to the next. What is the controversy? There's no way that even if they start the trial now, that they will finish it before the new senators come in.
And still on the president, he clarifies that the so-called cabinet revamp is not a revamp. Oh, it's not a one-time overhaul, but an ongoing performance review. He says all officials from cabinet secretaries down to undersecretaries and their agencies are currently on probation.
I have to explain that it's not a cabinet revamp. What happened really here was that I put everyone on notice that you are basically all on probation. Ngayon, nasa USEC na tayo, nasa mga agencies na tayo. But we are, what essentially, what you refer to as a cabinet revamp, it's not a one-shot, one-time, big-time thing. It is an ongoing thing. We will make that review on a periodic basis, maybe a quarterly basis. We'll be much more rigorous in looking at the performance, not only at the top level, but all the way. And that's why we'll see, I'm sure you will see more changes in the future.
And Supreme Court Administrator Raul Villanueva has been appointed as a new Associate Justice of the Supreme Court. He fills the vacancy left by Justice Mari Lopez, who retired on June 4. Villanueva is the first Supreme Court appointee of the Marcos administration. And joining us today, Storycon's resident political pundit, Tito Raul Llamas. Are you there, Tito Raul? Wala pa, okay. Also joining us in a little bit will be Regina Lay, who is who's on the way here. Okay. But, of course, from the Philippine Star, we have Editor-in-Chief, Ami Pamintuan. Ami, kamusta dyan sa Parañaque?
Hindi pa umuulan. Baka inulan sila, no? Si Red siya si Ronald.
Si Red is here. Okay, si Red is here na pala. Si Ronald is somewhere...
Ayan.
Si Ronald is somewhere in the vicinity of the Senate. Alam mo naman yung taong yun, kakalat-kalat sa kung saan-saan. Yun. Tapos, ikaw naman pala, Ami, hindi yung pala revamp ba't ako kasing revamp?
Hindi naman tayo nag-announce nun, ano? Sino ba nag-announce nun?
Don't shoot the messenger. Hindi nga naman pala revamp. Hiningi lang naman yung resignation ng lahat.
Hindi, baka kasi ang balita kasi yung revamp dapat sa SONA pa i-announce State of the Nation Address.
Uy, ba't nauna?
Bakit niya inunahan? Siya nagsasabi nun
Kung nade-delay ang impeachment, na-advance naman ng revamp.
Oo, na-advance.
Ng ilang buwan din.
Hindi na nga niya dapat sinabi yun dahil tapos na eleksyon, di ba?
Oo nga.
Ano pa ba silbi nun?
Oh, well, I suppose it's in response to the election results. So maybe if they got better results ng elections, baka hindi sila nag-revamp. Hindi pala revamp. Tawag doon, rebond. Hindi rin.
Hindi, reaction din yun dun sa mga survey.
Bond. Kasi nagbabonding sila ulit.
Oo nga. Pero may announcement ngayon na retained na si NSA,
Yeah.
National Security Advisor,
Oo,
Eduardo
Ed
Anyo.
Anyo. Although,
Yan.
he also said that the president also said that they're now at the undersecretary level doing the review. So I suppose tapos na ang cabinet as it is. So kung anong hindi napalitan dati, I suppose hindi na mapapalitan.
Yun na lang ang hinihintay natin, di ba, kay Anyo eh.
Well,
So retained na si Secretary Anyo.
yeah, but you're also may iba pa kasi presidential assistants, like for example, the controversial Larry Gadon.
Oo nga, yun ang tinatanong ko. Oo nga, wala pa, no? No word on that.
No word eh. Pero nasa USEC level na yung Pangulo eh. So I guess, ano yan, nadaanan na siya.
Pwede pa naman mag-announce sa State of the Nation, di ba? Sabi niya, continuing naman daw yan. It will be quarterly. Naku, may hirap-hirap yun, quarterly.
Yeah. Well, it's not that we're asking in particular about Larry Gadon. It's just that medyo nakaangat kasi.
Hindi ba sinabi niya ni Executive Secretary Bersamin, if you want blood, there will be more blood. Di ba? Mahilig sa dugo dito, no? Mahilig sa blood to mga official natin, ano? May blood bath. May blood.
Or bloody revamp. Ito na, si Regina is here. Wala. Sige, handa ko na dyan.
Nag-aabang lahat ngayon ng yung outtaking eh. Wala pa eh.
It was supposed to start at 4 p.m.
It's supposed to be at 4, pero wala pa eh.
Oh.
Ayan
After all this, after all this long discussion over whether it's constituting or convening an impeachment court, not boiled down to, sige, mag-outtaking na lang tayo.
Ed, kapag nag-outtaking ka sa presiding officer, hindi naman siya nag-outtaking as Senate President, ano?
Yeah.
Para saan pa yun? That's to start the trial, di ba? Ano pa? Ewan ko ba kung ano pa yan?
But you know how lawyers are. You have
Hindi naman lawyer yung mga humaharang, ano? Sabi nga ni Robin Padilla, sanay siya sa court proceedings kasi ex-convict siya.
But if more lawyers mean more arguments, imagine the non-lawyers.
Kaya nga. Pati si Bato, di ba? Kahit chief of police, sabi niya, non-lawyer ako, pero ang gagaling ng mga mga legal no? Terminology nila, no?
Yeah.
Kaya bilib ako eh.
Don't forget, each senator gets to hire their own staff.
Hello.
That includes consultants, advisors, and lawyers. And
Hello.
Hi,
Ayan na, dumating na si Reg.
Sorry, medyo traffic sa labas eh. But I guess I didn't miss much, no? Wala pang
Kala ko na-encap ka eh. Kala ko na-encap ka.
Wala, no contact
Sa
is
EDSA.
no contact is straight ka lang, 'di ba? So we're all waiting on the senators to take their oaths.
Wala pang quorum eh. Kumpleto na ba sila?
I understood that they were supposed to begin at 3 o'clock and take the oath at 4, but it's already 4.
Yeah, it's
Well,
4.
yesterday
It's at 4.
Yesterday
The
they also
oath-taking.
started late, remember? Yesterday they started almost 4:30 now. That was past 4:20 now when they started. So I guess at the moment there's still discussions, there's still last minute
Pero kayo naman,
Tapos ng alas 9 ng gabi.
kayo naman, nag-intay na tayo ng 4 na buwan, hihimayin pa ninyo ngayong kalahating oras.
Bakit
Diba?
daw sila?
Alam mo, Ed, yung South Korea, they also impeached the president on early December.
And that was
In
a
4 months,
fast.
tapos lahat.
Yes, that was a fast
4
process.
months, tapos lahat.
Yeah, but that's Korea.
Nag-election in 60 days.
Correct. And
Bago na silang presidente.
and when they announced the impeachment of the former president,
December 2
na-convene
yata
ka
or
agad.
3.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. They convened.
Basta first week of December.
They convened the proceedings immediately. Although forthwith, as it should be. I guess in every constitution in the world, impeachment needs to be convened forthwith, right? Not. Although what's interesting this time is you have
Ami, we had an interview kanina with
former
Adolf.
Justice. I was gonna say the former Justice Adolf Ascuna saying that she doesn't see unreasonable delay this time around, naman.
Yeah.
So.
Si Adolf kanina was saying in Gretchen Ho's show Morning Matters, there are two ways to look at forthwith. One is nga agad-agad. The other one is basta within a reasonable timetable or with reasonable delay.
Yan ang sinasabi din ni Cheese Escudero.
So, ang sabi ni Adolf...
naiinis nga siya, di ba?
Oo. So, ang sabi ni
Naiinis
Adolf...
siya na hindi nag-forthwith din yung house eh.
Pero ang sabi ni Adolf, as far as he is concerned, as far as Adolf is concerned, yung timetable ni Cheese is within reasonable limits pa. So there is no violation daw of the Constitution as far as what Cheese Escudero is doing, as far as the Senate President is doing. There's no violation. It is still within a reasonable timetable.
Which is interesting because he posted online, right? Which went kind of viral. Tapos it was picked up widely. At which point, on which he said that ang Tagalog translation of forthwith is of course agad-agad.
Agad-agad.
Oo. So his point being that they also need to convene immediately, forthwith, agad-agad, and not cause undue delay.
So yun ang pinigap na marami.
Oo. That's what a lot of people picked
That's
up.
the official translation, ha? Meron tayong Tagalog version, Filipino version ng Constitution.
As emphasized yesterday by Coco.
But in any case, it seems like they, as a body, as a chamber, have accepted now that they have to convene. It is in the Constitution. There's no other way around it. They have to convene.
Yeah.
Parang ang question lang is, what's interesting lang right now is, what did they think they were trying to achieve by having the Senate President take the oath as presiding officer last night without convening the court? You know what I mean? Parang, why are we doing this in drips and drabs?
Para lang siguro kasi ang dami nagpo-protesta kahapon.
So
And there was a fear na baka magkaroon ng no trial. Merong ganung scenario eh. No trial scenario. So yun yung, I guess that's their way of reassuring the people. Also, compromise sa minority na umpisahan na natin, let's get the ball rolling. At yun na nga umpisa, yung outtaking ng presiding judge.
Yeah.
Parang unwieldy compromise or it was an awkward compromise of sorts kasi some are saying what's that about? Ba't mo hiniwa-hiwalay yung mga outtaking?
Oh, yun na nga eh.
Tapos yung convening hiniwalay pa yung mga araw.
Because ang point din ni
Kasi
Senator...
may nagre-reklamong mga senador eh.
Oo.
Di ba?
But ang
Yun
point...
na, kaya inunahan na ni Cheese. In fact, I remember may in-interview tayo nung pinadala sa Senate yung articles of impeachment at sinabi nga ni Cheese, hindi pwede kasi pinadala sa amin 2 hours before the adjournment of session. Pero mga nagsasabi mga legal luminaries nun, di mag-outtaking ka na muna sa presiding judge para lang siguraduhin, umpisahan na natin yung trial. This will get the process started. Yung pag-outtaking ng presiding judge.
I agree it's an awkward compromise though because mabilis lang din naman yung oath-taking ng senator judges. Why not do it all in one go and officially formally declare that the Senate has convened as a court, right? That's what starts the process.
Kasi may resolution din si Robin Hood Padilla na i-terminate na yung process.
May resolution din siya.
Merong mga nagpo-protesta kasi ng mga senador. So yun ang hinihintay natin ngayon. Kung yung mga nagpo-protestang senador, mag-o-oath or pag-uusapan muna nila yung resolution ni Robin Padilla na mag-terminate na tayo. Diba?
It's interesting, no? Because this is, again, this is one of those things that the Constitution doesn't give you any choice on the matter, right? You have to could decide on this case, acquit or convict. Yun lang naman yung exit points dito. So I don't know. It's interesting that it's being challenged even this early.
Nagalit si Regina ulit eh.
Aborted.
kasi, look, again,
Imbisa na yan eh. But kapag hindi nila tinuloy, di aborted dyan.
Yes.
Aborted trial.
Which can also be challenged, right? Nagdebate pa sila kagabi about the procedures of the Senate and the rules of the Senate. But in every instance, it's the Constitution that prevails, isn't it? Yung saligang
wala
batas.
kasi yung mga ganyan-ganyan eh. Yung
correct.
Yung termination.
But in the end, the Constitution is...
of the process dahil out of time na sila.
But in the end, it's the Supreme Court that interprets the Constitution. And as Adolf also said kanina, yes, you can also expect that yung carryover from the 19th to the 20th will also be challenged with the Supreme Court. You can also expect
But
that as well.
you don't, hindi mo naman yan i-preempt na kung may challenge. So basta gawin na lang ng mga senador yung duty nila.
Correct.
Kung may mag-challenge, hindi mag-challenge.
Correct. But that doesn't mean they can, shirk their duty, right?
You cannot second guess kung may magfa-file ng challenge. Kasi every member of the Supreme Court is an unimpeachable official. Paano kung ayaw ng Supreme Court makialam sa ganyan? Kasi they a president. Pwede ba kami makialam dyan sa korte na pwede kaming itry?
Oo.
Di ba?
Exactly. You can't second guess the legal challenges to this. Basta you do it in the...
They just go on with their duty, di ba?
Exactly.
Which is what Chis Escudero did. Kaya lang meron niyang final si Robin Padilla na resolution na pwedeng sabihin, pwede bang pag-usapan muna natin to bago kami mag-vote ngayon? So, yun ang iniintay natin ngayon.
So
kasi
that makes
yung resolution na yun
That makes two resolutions, no? Yung una galing kay Senator Bato, calling for the dismissal of the impeachment case. That makes it two officially. There are two resolutions now calling for the... And then si Senator Tolentino also filed a resolution himself. This has to do with his own timeline. Yung 19-day impeachment timeline.
Di ba? Pero yung dismissal ng case, sinabi ng mga ibang senador, you cannot dismiss a case na hindi pa naman na-file. Kailangan buksan muna yung case. You have to start trying the case before you can dismiss it. So I guess wala na rin yung kay Senator Bato. Ang pwede na lang yung terminate the proceedings. At titignan natin yan ngayon lahat. Naku, mahaba-haba na naman tong araw natin.
Well, you can imagine kung mahaba ngayon, mas mahaba siguro bukas. Mas mahaba siguro bukas kasi bukas sila talaga mag-cause swords.
Correct. There's a video that's circulating online right now. Yung during the impeachment of former President Joseph Estrada, the point at which Senate President Nene Pimentel resigned. Parang na-resurface siya, no?
Correspondence?
Oo, correct. Kayo ba yun? Ikaw ba yun?
See, that was Patrick's segment.
Actually, nakita ko si Patrick doon.
Ako yung departure segment.
We should bring him in. Pero it's interesting na at that time, yun yung issue. Parang they're saying, si Senator Coco is it's very significant that he's the one leading this charge now. Kasi 24 years ago, it was his father who resigned because there were 11 senators who voted no to opening the second envelope.
Not to open the envelope.
The second envelope that has incriminating evidence against former President Estrada daw. Doon daw yung, ano yung laman ng second envelope po? Yun daw yung evidence that he asked to open. May evidence pointing to him ordering accounts under Jose Velarde.
But if I recall correctly, when they finally opened the second envelope, long after ERAP was napatalsik, parang wala naman nakita nga.
Hindi ba siya hard evidence na siya?
Wala ata nakita na sa envelope eh.
Wala.
Significant wala.
Ay, hindi siya
It was not something earth-shaking.
Okay.
Mas malakas siyang testimony actually ng bank employee.
Okay.
Si Carissa Ocampo. Carissa Ocampo?
Yung nag-witness ng pagpirma ng Jose Velarde.
Yeah.
She was the one who said yes. He was sitting across from me when he signed Jose Velarde.
That's the
mas
one.
malakas siyang yan.
So all that big hullabaloo for nothing. If they had it open pala, hindi nangyari EDSA sa dos.
Kaya nga Hindi, baka tumuloy yung trial.
So you believe that kapag kung sana binuksan nila yung second envelope, hindi nagka-EDSA dos?
Baka, kasi nagalit yung mga tao eh.
Kaya nga.
Kasi remember that, nung nagbotohan, umiyak si Nene, umiyak si Dilo, sumayaw-sayaw si Tessie.
Pinapunta na doon yung constitutional successor. Si GMA.
So, ano yung parallelisms from that time to now? And what lessons do we take away from that? Kasi the Senate seems to be at a crossroads din ngayon eh. Parang,
Huwag ka sasayaw on camera.
Don't rejoice. Right?
Kasi people really felt offended then. Si Tessie kasi was laughing and dancing.
Yan na, inano na ni Chiso. Call to order na.
Yeah, call to order.
Mag-ano pa yan.
Call to order.
They're gonna...
Di pa, mag-roll call pa yan. Mag-roll call pa.
Mag-roll call, they'll sing the national anthem pa. So we have
mag-roll call pa.
So we have a few minutes. Pero...
So a long discussion yesterday as to whether or not they were constituting or convening.
Nga, hindi ba kayo napagod ka papakinig ko?
In the end, ang napag-usapan, they are constituting
not
the court.
convening.
They are convening pa lang bukas.
But again, this is where...
Set up pa lang yung korte, kayo naman.
We're just playing with words here, is what we
gumawa
are.
tayo ng sarili nating sarili nating dictionary.
Yeah, ito na nga eh. So, I mean, we're just playing with words here, even for all of these cases, right? Well, including dun sa arrest ni former President Duterte, itong impeachment, puro we're hair splitting over words.
Kaya nga.
Right? And
saka it's interesting na ang mga involved dito are high crimes, yung accusations of high crimes. Pero everyone is so concerned about the rules.
Kaya nga. And in the last night, dun sa debate last night, when all the various senators took to the floor to manifest, parang they were really hair-splitting over the rules. Kaninong rules daw mauuna, diba? Yung Senate rules or yung Constitution, and they have a lot of rules around yung procedures of the Senate, right? May mga question din kung na-inform na in writing yung defense, kung na-inform na yung House of Representatives that they are convening, and so on and so forth.
Alam ko na, tawagan na natin they are consummating the impeachment the impeachment court.
Hindi pa consummating yan, kayo naman.
Convening is the right word.
Makibagay na lang kayo naman.
Pero nakakapagod makinig, nakakapagod talaga makinig eh.
You know, I wonder as well how history will judge this moment in time. Kasi this is a chance for the Senate to take a stand, diba? The way I see it. But instead, we've spent so many days debating the procedures and the rules, the parliamentary rules and all of that. So I wonder, just like with the with the ERAP impeachment, I wonder how itong history will judge this current batch of senators. Yeah,
will it be like senators dancing over figuratively, of course, the senators dancing over the charges or the articles of impeachment? Figuratively, of course. Parang may ganun eh. That's why people are getting offended as well. So yun.
I mean, even if you don't dance, the fact that all the things that they've said around it, right? So, for instance, remember when Senate President Cheese said, in response to the Christian Monsod, who is one of the framers of the Constitution, sabi ni Attorney Monsod, shallow yung reasoning to delay the impeachment. Sabi ni SP Cheese, edi siya na yung deep. So yung mga ganitong ba? You know, the internet doesn't forget, right? And history will I think not be too kind to them on this because it's all part of the history of this impeachment process. Yung mga pinagsasabi nila over and how they've turned.
Well, let's see. Because for all you know, this will get buried under all the other things that will come up in the impeachment. Maybe this will just be a footnote.
Kaya ginagawa nila lahat para mapigil. Yun yung strategy ng kabila eh. Actually, nag-uumpisa na yung laban eh. Ang initial strategy get it dismissed, get the trial stopped, or don't hold the trial. Kaya nga medyo malaki na rin yung nagawa kagabi na nakapag-outtaking na si Cheese.
Pero alam mo, Ami, ako...
Kaya naumpisa you get the process rolling, at least. Pero titignan natin, dahil ito, day 2 ngayon, tignan natin nga yung sinabi ko, na mukhang merong mga senador na ayaw mag-ano eh.
Pero Ami, ako, I can imagine the admin senators do not want to go to trial immediately and take it to a vote, put it to a vote. I don't think they want that eh.
Remember, meron ding mga speculation noon na merong mga backdoor channels daw
Yes.
na some folks trying to encourage BP Sara, mag-resign ka na lang para makatakbo ka sa 2028. Diba? You will not be impeached.
You were saying, Ed, na
Mawawala yung BP mo, but you can run for president. Hindi ka kusakasakali, pero dahil sa resulta nga nung election, they are hoping they can muster the 1/3, the 9 votes para matalo yung impeachment sa ngayon. Pero until
Right.
that happens, eto ngayon yung away, yun nangyayari ngayon.
Yeah.
Magkukonbin ba or hindi?
Ed, you were saying that they're trying their best not to vote
Well, not to vote yet.
publicly kasi
Yeah.
it becomes part of the history. It becomes public record.
Or it's kasi nga, if you look at the number, at least superficially, if you look at the numbers,
Meron
there's a very
meron
slim
nine.
chance, very slim chance that they will win.
Who'll win?
That the admin will win in getting a conviction. Very slim chance.
Slim chance. Oo.
Siyempre, wala namang kasiguraduhan yan, but this is politics eh. But if your chances are still slim, maybe...
Why risk it is the thought.
Yeah, maybe dribble for time first and try to get things worked out somehow.
Oo. And but
Hinintay nga yung election kasi.
yeah, but
Hinintay yung election eh.
I'm talking about
The thing-
the admin. I'm not talking about the opposition or the traditional opposition.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the admin.
I think both of them waited for the results of the election. Eh, nag-half-half yung election eh. 5-5 balyansa sa hanan.
And dami mong fence-sitters. Even dun sa current sa current batch who are going to stay to carry over. Ang dami mong fence-sitters eh. You don't need to vote for acquittal. You just need to have them abstain.
Yeah.
And the one thing
Yeah.
that everybody forgets about this whole thing is you are swearing to vote based on the evidence. Wala pa nga tayo sa evidence.
Yes.
But already we can more or less guess how
yeah.
each person will vote,
Sabi ni-
which is the tragedy of this.
Sabi ni Robin eh, kahit sinugin mo siya,
Mga ngamoy ano.
Yeah.
Yun ang, but that's my point, right? They take an oath to decide on this case based on the evidence. Wala pa tayo dun sa part na yun. Malayo pa tayo from that. And already, we know how some of these senators will vote. They will vote along party lines, right?
Yeah. Ed, pwede kayang mag-move yung prosecution for inhibition.
oh,
Kasi sabi ni Cheese, it's up to the senators, no? Pero
Yeah.
kung mag-move yung prosecution na magpa-inhibit ng certain senators, halimbawa si Senator Amy, merong mga pumuna, bakit nung na-file na yung article, na-transmit na yung articles of impeachment, bakit sumasama pa siya kay BP Sara, for example, going abroad? Di ba? Parang kung judge
Yeah,
ka,
but that's
pag
also her
nakita
right.
ka, nakasama yung akusado sa korte mo, di ba? Paparecuse ka kagad sigurado eh.
yeah. But also, Bok, that's also her right eh. I mean, also, remember recusing and inhibition, those are voluntary actions eh.
Yes.
Nobody can
Hindi,
order you to...
tinatanong ko lang kung pwedeng hingin yon nung prosecutor.
Yeah, they can. But the decision is going to be up to the center.
Yeah, it's up to the senators.
So pahiyaan na lang yan eh.
Oo.
Sa huli, di ba? Sa huli, it's all voluntary. It's whether or not you agree.
Oh.
We have a quote here from one of the House prosecutors. This is Congresswoman Bel Zamora. Sabi niya, Senator Padilla has to maybe review the Constitution. Maybe some of his advisors should advise him on constitutional law and that you cannot kill an impeachment by mere resolution. That's from House Prosecutor Congresswoman Bel Zamora. So, ayan na. There's a lot of back
Kaya
and forth.
yan yung pang-issue ngayon bago mag-oath taking yung 22 senators. Di ba? Although merong statement si Cheese today na tuloy-tuloy daw yung umpisa ng trial bukas. Meron siyang ganong statement.
You mean convening the...
Convening of the court. The convening of the court. And the reading,
Pag-himay talaga, di ba?
and the reading of the articles of impeachment. Yun
Articles
lang
of impeachment, yes.
Yun lang yung gagawin nila
Reading of
tomorrow.
yun ang sabi niya.
Yeah.
Baka nag-usap sila kagabi or this morning na tuloy na muna natin at tingnan natin kung anong mangyari. Oh, ayan
Okay.
ang pinag-uusapan nila yung ano eh. Hindi,
Ay, can you hear? What are they talking about right now?
iba-iba, naririnig ko lang yung radyo.
Oh, it's Bato. I understand to say Bato
Merong TV, merong ano, iba-iba eh.
should we
Sa
listen in?
computer na nakukuha.
I understand kasi there's some senators who want to talk before they take their oath of office.
Yeah.
Including Bato and... Okay, let's bring him in.
Yes.
Sige, let's bring it in.
Oh, sige.
What was agreed upon yesterday, but this is a personal collective privilege, and any member of this August body can just stand up and avail of this collective of this privilege hour, Mr. President.
No, I don't think so, Mr. President. This is a privileged speech. This is a privileged speech. This is not a privileged motion. So my motion is to execute and implement what was agreed upon yesterday. At 4 o'clock in the afternoon, we take our oath.
Delaying tactic na naman.
I make of record the time. It's 4:31 p.m. Mr. President.
Senator De La Rosa.
Abisenye.
Mr. President, it was very clear yesterday that we agreed that before I take my oath as member of the impeachment court, I should have delivered my privileged speech. That's why I made it a precondition to my approval or to my agreement to the motions yesterday that I'm willing to take oath as a member of the impeachment court, provided let me first deliver my privileged speech. And very clear, it was agreed by the minority leader
No,
yesterday.
Mr. President. No. It was stressed the convening of the court. That was the issue. And the agreement natin, the oath taking is not the convening of the court. That's very clear, Mr. President.
Several members are raising their hands. May I first acknowledge our Majority Floor Leader, Senator Tolentino. Thereafter, our Deputy Minority Floor Leader, Senator Ontiveros. Senator Tolentino may proceed.
With the permission of the gentleman. Mr. President, let me remind the gentleman that yesterday this representation moved to expunge from the records the word agreement, precisely because this representation would want that all matter that arose yesterday should be express stipulations coming from the mandate of the Constitution. Yung agreement po siguro inalis na natin to reflect the solemnness of the proceedings yesterday. So, kung ano po yun na pag-usapan, Mr. President, siguro yung dalawang ginoon na lamang muli ang magkasundo, pero the record should not reflect the word agreement. Iyon po lang yung sinasabi ko, Mr. President. Maraming salamat po.
Mr.
Noted.
President,
Senator,
this
this
is important because it's related. So, what I'm asking
Senator Pimentel, you may proceed.
What I'm asking to be enforced is the motion approved already, Mr. President. So we had approved by the plenary. A motion was approved by the plenary. So yun lang.
Senator Ontiveros is recognized.
I second the motion of the minority leader, Mr. President, the motion to implement the approved motion. Napakahirap naman po magpatupad ng ganyang kasimple. Mr. President, under Section 3 of our Rules of Procedure on Impeachment Trials, the presiding officer shall administer the prescribed oath or affirmation to the members of the Senate then present and to the other members as they shall appear, whose duty it shall be to take the same. So yung pagka wala po o yung hindi pa po pagkasumpa ng ibang mga senador, hindi naman po hadlang sa mga present ngayon at manunumpa ngayon para magsimulang tuparin yung tungkulin namin bilang miyembro ng impeachment court. Kung nais po ng good gentleman from Davao mag-deliver ng privilege speech ngayon, maari namang pong ituloy na po yung pagpapatupad ng agreed motion kahapon, manumpa kaming lahat na iba sa inyo bilang presiding officer, and then pakinggan po natin ang privilege speech ng good gentleman from Davao, at pagkatapos kung nais niya, ay pwedeng manumpa na ayon dito sa ating rules of impeachment, Mr. President. So
Mr.
sinusugundahan ko po yung motion ng minority leader na gawin na po natin yung approved motion kahapon. Salamat po, Mr. President.
Chair would like to make some remarks before acknowledging Senator De La Rosa. There was a prior motion made by the majority floor leader. There is no motion to second as of yet because we first have to dispose of the first motion made by the majority leader with respect to the recognition of Senator Bato. But we note the we will consider and take note of the remarks of Senator Ontiveros as a manifestation for the meantime. Now, the movant is here. The person who made the motion yesterday. Perhaps when I suspend session, you can discuss it. But for the record, there is no attempt whatsoever, and kindly, I hope people will refrain from making insinuations that there is an intent not to proceed with what was agreed upon yesterday simply because of the time. Because I was here at 4 p.m. and I waited until we had enough numbers for a quorum. And we will proceed as scheduled with respect to that. So whether Senator Bato, as will be discussed when we suspend, will speak first, or we will do what is being suggested by the minority floor leader. In either case, both will be done today. So before I recognize the movant, Chair will suspend the session so that you can discuss. Session is suspended.
Okay. Is Ami still there? No, I think si Ami had to leave. Okay. Okay.
Sinabi ko sa inyo, hindi kagad-agad mangyayari.
Yeah. Pero, Ami, nabuto ba? May discussion pa sila kasi mukhang gusto ni Bato magsalita muna bago mag-oath-taking.
He wants to deliver a privileged speech.
Oo, at pinagtatulunan ngayon kung ito ba'y napagkasundoan kapon o hindi. At
according to Bato, napagkasunduan daw.
Yes, according to him.
According to Senator Francis Tolentino, tigilan daw kagagamit ng
the word agreement.
Wala daw.
Okay.
I remember this part.
They agreed not to have an agreement, kan ba?
No, they agreed.
Ino agreement siya, constitutional duty daw.
Okay.
They agreed to strike the word agreement from the official transcript of yesterday's proceedings. Narinig ko to kahapon eh.
There was an agreement.
There was an agreement to strike out agreement as a word. Kasi his issue was parang, I think his issue was that nagmumukhang nag-agree sila behind the scenes of what to do. So he took out that word. Parang may horse trading going on.
Kuntsabahan.
Parang hindi mukhang ano.
Kuntsabahan.
Well,
Horse trading.
Horse trading.
That's what they're trying to avoid as far as appearances are concerned, I suppose.
Correct.
Diba?
So, but the fact of the matter remains is that clearly, marami pa silang dapat pag-usapan. I mean, look at them right now, right? They keep huddling, they keep suspending the proceedings when it's already 4:40 and the agreement,
Taking pa lang yan.
Sa baka bukas pa yung oath-taking, gano'n?
The decision yesterday was mag-oath-taking na at 4 today.
Sabi ko sa inyo wag mo daw gamitin yung agreement. ano kaya ang word magagamit natin doon?
Kasunduan.
Pumayag na sila yan.
I'm not sure.
Baka pwedeng Tagalog version.
Pero kahapon wala din.
Parang agad-agad.
Wala tayong narinig na ano hindi naman natin, wala naman tayo narinig na gusto mag-privilege speech ni Senator Bato.
Apparently, pinag-usapan nga during yung ganyang break. No, parang
But why couldn't they have?
Pero sila din yung nag-uusap na yan yung mga block they're not speaking to the
other side.
Yung contending parties hindi naman nag-uusap ano ba yan?
So we're not looking at resolution, we're looking at reinforcements.
Oo nga.
Well, this is
magsasalita pa si Senator Robin, paano yung resolution niya, di ba? Sinabi ko nga sa inyo. May resolution pa siya.
And I also understand, Bok, si Bongo also wants to talk. At least that's what I read sa diaryo kanina.
He was missing yesterday, no? Hindi ko siya masyado nakita kahapon.
Si Bongo, pero I think he elected to what was that? He opted to cast his lot with those who want to convene.
Proceed.
Proceed.
Proceed. But anyways, this is the part now where the Senate President has to be the deciding factor. He has to show some leadership, right? Okay, sure, you can't help na there are competing blocks and they are in disagreement on how to move forward. Pero I think this is the part where he really needs to step up and show some leadership. And take a stand na, okay, no, as a collegial body, this is what we decided on and this is what we will do, whatever that may be. Right?
Meron na siyang decided on na hindi na agreement.
Hindi pwede, hindi naman, I mean, you can't please everybody all the time, right? So I don't know if they keep suspending, it sounds like they keep trying to find a compromise. Compromise upon compromise upon compromise is what we're doing. Parang yung kahapon, we were just talking earlier about the awkward compromise of SP Chiz taking the oath pero hindi officially na-convene ang impeachment court. So parang yun, it was just a small compromise.
That kicks off the process Kaya pumayag na rin yung minority. Yan ang umpisa ng process
Small victories for each side.
Parang gray zone tactics pala to.
Para saan yun?
Parang gray zone tactics din pala to.
Gray zone tactics. Parang West Philippine Sea.
Oo nga.
Parang konti-konti, no?
Kasi challenge sasabihin, hindi kasi natatandaan ko nga, nung ayaw niyang i-convene, yun ang sinasabi sa kanya, kahit mag-opt ka lang. Yun ang sinasabi sa kanya Just to show na nag-umpisa yung process in the 19th Congress at kung sakasakali mag-carry over sa bis na kailangan mo i-refile yung impeachment in the 20th. Yun ang sinasabi sa kanya. Umpisahan nyo na para hindi kailangan maghintay ng 1 year bago mag-refile sa 20th Congress.
But
Yun ang
I can also imagine that they made him take the oath if only to show people na
he's doing something.
Ito na, simula na. Kasi
pero,
nag-oath ka sa
you get the ball rolling.
Presiding judge, ibig sabihin nun na you really are going to have an impeachment trial.
But you get the process rolling.
I get that.
In the Senate.
I get that. Pero the point nga is that in itself is a compromise because this does not formally start the process. The process formally starts pag na-convene na ang Senate as an impeachment court.
The trial starts pag nag-convene.
Correct. So yung him taking the oath, it's in itself a compromise, right? Just to make the rest.
Don't call it a compromise agreement, ha?
Saan mo na yung process?
Call it a compromise meeting of
splitting
minds.
hairs tayo, no?
Kaya nga So this is what I mean, right? Parang gray zone tactics din lang pala to. It's like a little bit here, a little bit there.
Mamaya may water cannon na yan.
Not quite, always falling short of an armed attack, pero
kasi para yan masabi, halimbawa, may magsa-challenge, hindi nyo naman inumpisahan ang 19th Congress, you have to refile. Ngayon, they can point to his oath-taking, hindi inumpisahan namin.
Now, what's going to be interesting is if we keep up with this kind of scenario every day until
forward
until
every
the
day,
30th of June.
Oo.
At hindi natuloy ang pag-convene.
Well, then that's bound to be challenged legally, and I feel like basing on what.
Bukas na lang session
Yeah, but you know how it is. Ang sabi kasi ni Adolf yes, the session adjourns on Friday, pero they really stepped down only on the 30th of June.
Yeah.
This is former Supreme Court Justice.
And the constitutional duty is while there is a 19th Congress.
Yeah, this is former Supreme
Yun yung
Court.
constitutional duty
Former-
under the Article 11,
Yeah.
which governs impeachment.
Right.
Yung
So-
trabaho yun ng Senado hanggang June 30 pa.
Right. So this is according to former Supreme Court Justice Adolf
Yeah.
Ascuna. For those who are just joining us, according to Justice Ascuna, who was the one who wrote Article 11 of the 1987 Constitution. So
And
if
the
anyone
word
knows,
forthwith.
if anyone
Susunod
knows,
sabihin natin,
if anyone
pag
knows
sa susunod, lagay mo na lang immediately, ha?
what that means, siya yun.
Agad-agad. Ay, nako. Matagal pa ba yan?
So
Baka mamaya nagmimerienda na yung mga yan.
Just to recap, right now we are watching live footage of the Senate, of the senators. They have suspended session kasi they have to discuss the issue between Senator Coco Pimentel and Senator Bato. Si Senator Bato wants to give a privileged speech, which Senator Coco is trying to block, saying no.
To delay lang naman, to delay.
The decision yesterday was to take the oath, for the senators to take their oath at 4 p.m. and it's already 4:45
Wait, is that Bato already there?
Oh, hindi naman siya umalis.
Hindi po umalis. Okay.
Mag-out taking muna. Ayan ang gusto nila ng minority. Mag-out taking, na yun daw ang pinag-usapan kahapon. Out taking muna bago ko mag-privilege speech.
But I don't see any huddle eh. So how are they going to resolve this before they...
Yun ang nga tinatanong ko. Baka nagpunta sa CR yung mga doon nag-uusap.
Ano ba yun?
Baka baka off-cam lang on the...
Hindi kasi yun ang sinabi di ba? Senator Chi sabi, yung dalawang baka pwedeng pag-usapan nyo na lang. Di ba?
You mean Coco and Coco and Bato?
Si Coco and si Bato, pag-usapan nyo na lang.
Kakaiba din talaga yung mga pangalan ng mga senador natin.
Nila kung ano yung napag-usapan kagabi. We cannot even use the word agreement ngayon.
But again, my point being, bakit silang dalawa yung kailangan mag-usap? He as Senate President should be the deciding factor here. Diba? I mean, it's one of those issues na pwedeng siya na mag-decide straight away. We don't have to suspend the proceedings. It's just a matter of...
Baka kailangan yung gano'n kailangan ng dalawang contending parties na sabihin. Pwede ba ikaw na lang mag-resolve neto? Hindi ko alam Or back down in rules.
Yeah, this is what it feels like.
Ayan na.
He never
Nag-walk
left
out
pala
na siya, Hindi, nag-walk around lang.
Okay, we're seeing Senator
Ayan na sila, bumalik na.
Senate President Cheese Escudero take the washroom again.
Hindi. Wala pa siya, Senator Bato.
Hindi, nakatayo siya doon.
Wala pa siya. Ay, natatawa na siya, Sagay na. Ayan na si Senator Bato. Ayan, he's talking to
Kausap si... Is it Mark and
Mark and Joel Villanueva. Ayan na. Ayan, si Mark. Tignan natin kung ano yung agreement.
Ayan na. He's pounded the gavel. He's pounded the gavel. The Senate is back in session. Let's listen in.
May I just offer some voice of experience? Actually, sinabi na to ni SP, pero I'll just elaborate. But let me start out by saying, I understand why the minority leader stood up. Yes, minority at mas konti sila, but they have a role to play. It's not only a very important role to understand why the minority leader stood up. Yes, minority at mas konti sila, but they have a role to play. It's not only a very important role today, it's an essential role. It's not only a role in our legislative session, it's a role in holding the second highest person in our government accountable. They have fought for that not just yesterday, but the minority leader, despite running for Congress, have continued, in Tagalog, tinutukan to. And in fact, I have to apologize to him, medyo mas tama ka na yung forthwith means agad. Pero tinignan ko na yung Filipino version, isusunod agad. in that context, makikiusap ako sa minority leader. We've been here long enough dun sa atin na 3-4 terms na pag nag-argue kung sinong una, tatagal tayo ng 1-2 oras, walang mauuna. So kung gagawin natin yung forthwith today, ibig sabihin isusunod agad. I looked at the rules, no? Sabi po kasi talaga pagka personal privilege, pwede mauna. But ang sabi nga ni Minority Leader and backed up by the Deputy Minority Leader, we know how important the impeachment court is. So may I ask a further favor indulgence from the Minority Leader that we allow Senator Bato so that we also do not violate. We're going to violate 1 or 2 things today. Violate the agenda, dahil sa agenda talaga mag-oath taking, or violate our rules, dahil sabi sa rules, anytime pwede kang tumayo sa personal privilege. So may we ask for the indulgence ng minority to allow Senator Bato to deliver his speech because binanggit niya to sa aking kahapon. Kung ako nagkulang, pasensya na po kayo dahil ang pakiusap niya kahapon, bago mag-oath, magsasalita siya. So if we can allow him, then with the permission of the majority leader, I'll volunteer you to forthwith immediately, agad-agad move na we take our oath as members of the impeachment court, if it's acceptable to the minority leader. It's not the perfect solution, sir, but I hope it's acceptable.
What does the minority leader say?
Basically, Mr. President, we will agree to the suggestion of Senator Alan Cayetano. Pero ito lang yung point ko for those of you still present or serving in the 20th Congress. There is a purpose, meron tayong agenda. So when you are in number 7 for privileged speech, you cannot just stand up and then accelerate the tackling of your item in the session, Mr. President, by just standing up. So ano lang po yun, just an observation. So with that, I willingly give way to our colleague with this important message for us, Mr. President, Senator Bato de la Rosa.
We thank Senator Pimentel, also thank Senator Cayetano. Sana mas madalas-dalas siya dito. Hindi ikaw kokoha, si Alan. And also for the record, I'd like to assure our minority floor leader and deputy minority floor leader that we will, the chair would rather preside over the oath-taking of members of the impeachment court today. Before we adjourn, the clock not with standing to give way to the privileged speech of the Honorable De La Rosa, because the Senate, after all, is a deliberative body. Everyone should be free to say their piece, subject to certain limitations, of course, and we are free to agree or disagree. And if the matter cannot be settled, for it to be put to a vote. If there are no other members who wish to state their piece on the matter, Chair now recognizes Senator Bato de la Rosa. You may proceed, sir.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, esteemed colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, imagine a house, Mr. President, an unfinished one that is still being built. Where do we begin? Of course, with solid foundations, a level ground, as well as an honest blueprint. Hindi pwede ang mga shortcut. Hindi pwedeng madaliin. Kung babaliwalain ng mga architects at mga engineers ang mga basic requirements, hindi magiging matibay ang itatayong bahay. Maaari itong magdulot ng panganib, hindi lamang sa mga maninirahan dito, kundi maging sa ibang mga kabahayan sa paligid nito. If any of us happen to discover that the house we were living in was structurally unsound, we would likely scramble to have it retrofitted. We would probably file cases in anger against developers. I doubt any of us would simply shrug our shoulders, saying, andito na tayo eh, hayaan na lang. Now, imagine a House of Representatives that built and filed the impeachment complaints against Vice President Sara Zimmerman Duterte. Trabahong inupuan sa simula. At noong papalapit na ang deadline, biglang naging buzzer beater. Mabilisang pinasa sa atin at ngayon, tayo naman ang pinipilit at minamadali. Pinapagalitan pa nga, that is your sworn duty. Tama na ang pamumulutika. This is undue delay. Sandali. Bakit kaya sa pagkakataon at pangyayaring ito, tila madali lang para sa atin ang sabihin, andito na tayo eh. Andyan na nga eh. Mr. President, the House of Representatives are of the belief that they have built a solid case against Vice President Sara Zimmerman Duterte, prompting them to file an impeachment case. But how sound are the foundations of this impeachment case filed against the Vice President? Kagaya po ng konstruksyon ng isang bahay, ang proseso ng impeachment ay kinakailangan na nakatungtong sa isang solidong pundasyon. Ibig sabihin, ang mga arkitekto na pasimuno nito ay may tungkulin na tiyakin na may tatayuan ang kanilang mga akusasyon. Ngunit, ang impeachment ay isang proseso na hindi nakasalalay lamang sa mga arkitekto o mga instigador nito. Sa totoo lang, pinakamadali ang naging gampanin ng HOR sa proseso ng impeachment. Yun ay ang pagbubuo ng mga akusasyon, Mr. President, kahit sino po ay maaring magparatang kung kanino man. Sa bahagi naman po natin, ang pinakamahirap, ang paghusga, ang paggawad ng isang hatol na makatarungan at katanggap-tanggap. Anuman ang nakatuntong sa mahinang pundasyon ay laging may panganib na gumuho. Kung ang isang impeachment case ay minadali at nakasandig sa paghihiganti at pamumulitika, ay maihalin tulad sa isang strukturang itinayo sa gilid ng bangin. Bagamat tungkulin o obligasyon natin sa Senado na mag-convene bilang impeachment court, responsibilidad din natin na maging mapanuri at critical sa impeachment complaint na ipinasa rito sa ating bulwagan. As I usher in my 6th year in the Senate, my 39th year in public service, Mr. President, I can say I have gotten better at spotting irony. What we refuse to let happen to our houses, we seem to have allowed our House of Representatives to do in broad daylight, right under our noses, and at the expense of our institution's esteemed reputation. With this, Mr. President, my dear colleagues, allow me to express my serious concerns surrounding the constitutionally unsound foundation of the articles of impeachment that the Senate is set to tackle. Article 11, Section 3, Paragraph 2 of the 1987 Philippine Constitution provides that a verified complaint for impeachment may be filed by any member of the House of Representatives or by any citizen upon a resolution of endorsement by any member thereof, which shall be included in the order of business within 10 session days and referred to the proper committee within 3 session days thereafter. Keeping in mind the aforementioned constitutional provision. Recall that on December 2, 2024, the first impeachment complaint against Vice President Duterte was filed before the Secretary General of the House of Representatives. The second and third impeachment complaints were filed on December 4, 2024 and December 19, 2024, respectively. These complaints were each endorsed by members of the House of Representatives. While the Constitution requires that a complaint for impeachment must be included in the order of business within 10 session days, the House of Representatives Rules of Procedure in impeachment proceedings require the Secretary General to immediately refer the complaints to the Speaker. Despite this, no action was ever taken by the House on the 3 impeachment complaints filed. Hindi po ito simpleng pagkalimot, Mr. President. Ito po ay tahasang pagsantabi ng kanilang internal rules at constitutional provision. Sinadya po nila na baliwalain ang konstitusyon. Maliwanag po ito sa mga naging panayam kay House Secretary General Velasco. In media interviews, the Secretary General publicly disclosed that the members of the majority of the House of Representatives asked him to withhold the transmittal of the impeachment complaints to the Speaker. Their goal then was to give themselves more time to decide whether or not to file another impeachment complaint. Pinaghintay po ng mayorya ng House of Representatives ang 3 impeachment complaint. May ganyan po ba silang kapangyarihan? Tila po, ito ay matatawag na grave abuse of discretion. Then, on February 5, 2025, more than 2 months after the first impeachment complaint was filed, the House of Representatives took the fast-track route according to Secretary General Velasco. Kung ang 3 naunang impeachment complaint ay pinadaan sa EDSA, mukhang sa Skyway po ang piniling landas ng House para sa pang-4 na impeachment complaint para maiuwi ito sa Senado. With less than an hour before the close of session of that day, the House of Representatives transmitted to the Senate a verified complaint for impeachment against Vice President Sara Z. Duterte, purportedly signed by 215 members of the House of Representatives. My honored colleagues, had the House complied with their own rules and the Constitution, the 3 previous impeachment complaints would have been referred to the appropriate committee by the time the present impeachment complaint was filed and sponsored by the members of the House of Representatives. In other words, Your Honors, the intentional inaction of the House of Representatives allowed its members to purportedly circumvent the 1-year ban enshrined in Article 11, Section 3, Paragraph 5 of the Constitution. Given the glaring circumvention of the Constitution, should we allow impeachment complaints which are constitutionally infirm to be heard and tried by this body? Kung defective po ang foundation ng impeachment complaint, marirepair o marirehabilitate ba ito ng pag-convene ng impeachment court? Hindi po ba mawawala ng saysay ang pag-convene ng Senate as an impeachment court kung malinaw na labag sa konstitusyon ang nais nating itayo. Kaya ang impeachment ay isang sensitibong proseso. Sa pagsampa pa lamang nito, binabato na agad ang akusado ng putik na kahit maakwit ay tila habang buhay nang nakamansa sa kanyang pagkatao. Pagkatapos ng impeachment, anuman ang magiging hatol, the damage done to the reputation of the accused will forever be irreparable. He or she will never be the same again. Some of the members of this august body may not agree with me and may take a different view as to whether the one-year ban has been violated by the House of Representatives. To settle this issue, the separate opinion of Chief Justice Renato Espuno in Francisco versus House of Representatives provides this body a direction on the course of action that we may take when confronted with the same issue I laid down. Former Chief Justice Espuno said that before the Senate is convened as an impeachment court, the Senate, which has primary jurisdiction over the case, can already decide the question on whether the one-year ban has been violated or not. That is why, insisting ako na ma-deliver ito before we convene as an impeachment court. Hindi po natin kailangang hintayin magbagong anyo ang Senado at maging isang ganap na impeachment court. Ngayon pa lamang ay maaari na nating pagdesisyonan ito. Sumunod ba sa saligang batas at sa internal rules ng mababang kapulungan ang impeachment complaint na kanilang ipinasa dito sa Senado? Nasa Senado po ang pagkakataon upang magwasto. Kung minadali ng isuar ang impeachment complaint, bakit kailangan natin itong tumbasan ng kaparihong kawalang pagpapahalaga sa tamang proseso? Madalas po natin sabihin, dito sa ating kapulungan, we are men and women of rules. Manatili po tayong ganon, malayo mula sa ingay at impluensya ng kung sino mang may mga personal na interes at pakinabang sa pagmamadaling ipinipilit sa atin. Mr. President, the inaction of the House of Representatives resulted not only in a possible violation of the Constitution, but in another justiciable controversy. It is worthy to note that its new Congress, empowered by a fresh electoral mandate in both the House of Representatives and the Senate, is not bound by the legislative actions of its predecessors. Hindi po natin maaring pilitin ang mga papalit sa atin sa future Congresses na ipagpatuloy ang anumang ating nasimulan. Sabi nga po ni President Chis Escudero kahapon, the Congress cannot pass an irrepealable law. Lahat ay pwedeng baguhin at galawin ng mga sumusunod na mahahalal sa Kongreso. Maari pong hindi sila gumalaw at hayaan lamang na nakatiwangwang ang anumang proceeding na sinisimulan ng mga nauna. When the fourth impeachment complaint was submitted, the 19th Congress was teetering on the brink of a long slumber. The Senate is now being urged to convene with only 2 session days, 20 days remaining before the 19th Congress closes. Hindi man po ako abogado, alam ko pong walang kaso, mapasibil, administrative o kriminal na dinidinig sa loob lamang ng isang buwan. Naghihingalo na po ang buhay ng 19th Congress. Bakit po natin ipipilit pa kung ang pintuan ng 20th Congress ay malapit nang magbukas? Malinaw naman po sa ating Rules of Procedure on Impeachment Trials, kailangang isumon ang person impeached para paharapin sa Senado. Kailangan din siyang bigyan ng 10 araw para mag-submit ng kanyang 5 araw naman ang ibinibigay sa mga prosecutor para mag-file ng kanilang reply. Kaya po, kahit mag-convene ng impeachment court, bukas, summon at pagtanggap lamang sa pleadings ang kayang magawa ng 19th Congress. Sigurado na po tayo na ang trial kasama ang pagrepresenta ng ebidensya ay magaganap sa 20th Congress, kung saan bago na po ang komposisyon ng Senado at mababang kapuluan. Because of the change in members, questions are being raised on the jurisdiction of the 20th Congress to carry on with an impeachment trial commenced in the previous Congress. Should the 19th Congress convene an impeachment court, what assurance exists that the 20th Congress would continue the trial? Without such assurance, any efforts by the 19th Congress would constitute a significant waste of government resources. Even the authority of the House of Representatives to continue prosecuting is being questioned since the said complaint was filed by a House of a different composition. In fact, some of those who signed the complaint failed to secure a seat in Congress in the recently concluded elections. Mukhang kailangan po natin ng positive act from the 20th Congress House of Representatives na kanilang itutuloy ang impeachment complaint na ginawa ng 19th Congress House of Representatives. Mr. President, the constitutionally given power and mandate of the Senate to try and decide all cases of impeachment is an immense responsibility that must be exercised in good faith, with sincere intention to fulfill a solemn oath, not with haste, but with careful circumspection, mindful of both the political and legal nature of the exercise. Ang impeachment ay isang proseso na hindi lamang mag-aalis sa pwesto ng isang mataas na opisyal ng pamahalaan. Ito ay isang armas laban sa sinuman na hindi umaayon sa kagustuhan at mga interes ng mga kaaway sa politika. Ito ay apoy na hindi lamang nakapapasok, kundi may kakayahan na tupukin at sunugin hindi lamang ang isang bahay, kundi isang buong komunidad. Mapanganib ang impeachment sa kamay ng mga mapagsamantala. Inilalagay ang impeachment para protektahan ang taong bayan, hindi isakdal at hiyain ang kumakatawan sa kanila. In the 2012 case of Chief Justice Renato C. Corona versus Senate of the Philippines, the Supreme Court declared impeachment, described as the most formidable weapon in the arsenal of democracy, was foreseen as creating divisions, partialities, and enmities, or highlighting pre-existing factions, with the greatest danger that the decision will be regulated more by the comparative strength of parties than by the real demonstrations of innocence or guilt. The House of Representatives, in transmitting the articles of impeachment to the Senate at the last hour and after refusing to act for over 2 months on 3 previously filed complaints pending with the House Secretary General, has instead placed the Senate in a tight and impaired position where any decision, action, or inaction on its part will be put into question. An acquittal, conviction, or even the propriety of proceeding with trial will be hounded not only by legal or constitutional questions, but by accusations of extreme bias, partiality, and lack of sufficient deliberation. Lagi kong sinasabi, Mr. President, hindi ako abogado. Nevertheless, this cannot disqualify me from speaking against possible constitutional blunders. Hindi kailangan maging engineer para masabi ng isang tao na unlivable at hindi ligtas ang isang bahay o building. Alam nyo, alam natin, kung kailan matibay at pulido ang pagkakagawa katulad ng isang bahay na bato. Alam din natin kung kailan hindi. When the floor starts to crack, when the walls begin to shift, and when leaks appear where there should be none, there and then, Mr. President, there and then, forthwith, we say, this was not built well. Gayon din sana sa impeachment case na ito. The cracks and holes have begun to show. Alam nating may mga tanong na hindi pa nasasagot, lalo na patungkol sa constitutional soundness ng nasabing impeachment complaint. It is my humble opinion then, Mr. President, that with this knowledge must come swift and intelligent action. Kung gaano natin kabilis i-condemn at ipagiba ang mga strukturang hindi ginawa ng maayos, ganoon din dapat tayo kabilis umaksyon kung ang nalalagay sa alanganin ay ang ating konstitusyon. In the spirit of true action, therefore, allow me to end by moving. I respectfully move that in view of its constitutional infirmities and questions on the jurisdiction and authority of the 20th Congress, the verified impeachment complaint against Vice President Sara Zimmerman Duterte be dismissed. Allahu Akbar. Mr. President, since I have still the floor, I would like to call Senator Bongo. Mr. President.
Mr. President, will the good gentleman yield the floor for a few remarks as part of the privilege hour availed by Senator De La Rosa?
Yes, Mr. President. No problem with me. Thank you, Mr. President.
Mr. President, I agree with the speech of Senator Bato De La Rosa. Ang gusto nating kalabasan ng paglilitis na ito ay justisya.
Senator Go, before you proceed, Chair has not yet recognized you. Session is suspended.
Okay, we just have the suspension of the Senate. Katatapos lang ni Senator Bato de la Rosa mag-move na i-dismiss ang verified complaint versus VP Sara because of what he calls constitutional infirmities and questions on the jurisdiction dun sa inaksyonan ng Kongreso na verified complaint against VP Sara. Ang mukhang pinag-uugatan nito ay yung supposedly one-year ban. A ban dun sa, one-year ban dun sa pag...
against impeaching an officer.
Pag-initiate ng impeachment. In particular, dahil dun sa pag-delay noong pagproseso ng impeachment complaints. There were 3 impeachment complaints filed before the House. Tapos hinawakan ni House Secretary General Reginald Velasco ng 2 buwan ang impeachment complaints imbes na i-forward diretso doon sa opisina ni Speaker. At ayon sa panig ni Senator Bato, which is also echoing the VP's position in February,
yes.
This is a violation.
So none of this is a surprise. I mean, the only surprising thing today was that he gave a privileged speech, which we weren't expecting, pero none of what he said was a surprise kasi various other people on the Duterte side have already raised these issues, pati yung defense counsel nila, questioning, yun nga, what they call the quote-unquote constitutional infirmities. Comes back to the whole process of how the House of Representatives endorsed this
Or failed
impeachment
to act
complaint.
on the 3 earlier impeachment complaints.
Which is I mean, I don't know how relevant it is to the discussion now because how that process went is
Ang assertion ni Bato is basically ito that the Senate can decide on the question of whether the 1-year ban has been violated or not. So, I'm paraphrasing here. So, hindi natin kailangang intayin pa ito, mahal natin pagdesisyonan ito. Sumunod ba sa saligang batas ang HOR? Nasa Senado ang pagkakataon na iwasto. Dahil
hindi
walang
naman
pagpapahalaga
sila ang
sa
magdedesisyon
tamang
yan
proseso.
Only the Supreme Court can decide that because that's a constitutional process. And if you're questioning the constitutional process, there's only one body who can decide that, which is the Supreme Court, hindi ang Senado. Right? So the point of the other lawyers that we've spoken to, including the constitutional framers, is that this has taken on a life of its own because the endorsement sa Senado, the Senate's only job now is to convene as a court and try it.
Mm-hmm. Well, as a matter of processes, because we've seen that in 2012, the Supreme Court ruling on the, I think, Francisco case. They struck down some of the provisions of the some of the rules on impeachment of the lower chamber.
Pwede sila mag-decide on the rules of this particular impeachment complaint, but they can't question how yung HOR process part of the process of this, right? They can't question whether hindi naman sila magde-decide on the 1-year impeachment ban, right? That's Supreme Court as well.
Well, that's up in the air. It is sui generis.
Because it's sui generis, because it's its own kind, right? So they can make
in a way parang co-warrant to sabi ni Bato In a way, again I'm paraphrasing, parang co-warrant to, parang it never happened to begin with. Or it was never legitimate to begin with.
Parang annulment.
Parang gano'n, no? Parang co-warrant to. Co-warrant to, in the case of Sereno, basically...
Former Justice Sereno.
Basically, the ruling was, she was never, Supreme Court Chief Justice to begin with. Parang gano'n.
So what we're trying to do here, what he's trying to do is say the impeachment was never an impeachment complaint to begin with. There was never an impeachment complaint to begin with.
That the Senate can rule on that.
Kasi hindi siya na-transmit, it wasn't
there
followed.
There was a violation of the Constitution to begin with. Ayun nga, but this is all, these are all legalese that will have to be decided on and hahaba pa prosesong ito. You can imagine this will go to the Supreme Court nga. And the Supreme Court does rule on processes and procedures and rules on the impeachment proceedings. It does not rule on the decision, whether to acquit or to convict.
Correct. So the Supreme Court does not have, jurisdiction over the decision of the Senate, which means they shouldn't let this hold up the process. They still have to go through with the process kasi malinaw nga yung Constitution, yung sa ligang batas, that they have to, the only way out is to try this case and either acquit or to convict.
What's interesting din is si Bato tried to segue to Bongo. While I still have the floor.
At which point na-suspend na yun.
Bato, while I still have the floor, let me call in Senator Bongo. And Bongo tried to, I think he was on the verge of doing a second motion.
Correct.
Pero he was stopped by...
Pero na-suspend na yung proceedings. I guess this is why...
Segue nila.
I guess this is why si Minority Leader Senator Coco Pimentel did not want Senator Bato to give a privileged speech bago sila mag-oath-taking as senator judges. Diba? This is the second suspension for the day. Yung first, they had... yung first suspension was because gusto mag-privileged speech ni Senator Bato, ayaw ni Senator Coco, saying ang agreement was 4 o'clock mag-oath-taking na silang senator judges. And this is another delay, right? So 5 to 30
But Bato raises a particularly prickly question that I think some senators, if not many, at least some senators, may sympathize with Kasi they've been complaining na dinilay yung 2 sa House, tapos ipamadaliin nyo kami.
But here's where it gets really testy. You're right. Medyo prickly siya. Madaliin ba yun? I mean, they've had 4 months as well to act on this, to debate this, to decide on this, to negotiate this, right? February 5 is when it was transmitted. The word here of minamadali, being rushed, I mean, is it a fair use of that verb here in this instance,
Well,
right?
that's not for me to say. But so I can imagine that he is going to get some sympathy votes. Balik na.
Okay, they are
Chair
convening
would
again.
like to first state the parliamentary situation. After the privileged speech of the Honorable Bato, he asked that the chair recognize Senator Bongo to deliver a seconding speech to the motion he made at the end of his privileged speech. The chair has not yet acted on that motion and has not yet recognized Senator Go. And before the chair declared a short suspension, 2 members raised their hand to be acknowledged and be heard, and the chair intends to listen to them first before acting on the pending motion. Senator Ontiveros first, and then Senator Villanueva. You may proceed, ma'am.
Maraming salamat po, Mr. President. Immediately after the speech of the good gentleman from Davao, I move that any interpellation or any action, any seconding speech on the privileged speech be suspended momentarily after his speech to allow us to take our oath, which was the subject of the approved motion yesterday, and again, which was the subject of the approved motion yesterday, which is an offshoot of a question of privilege, which takes precedence over all motion.
A point
to
of
make
order,
way
Mr. President.
for
Session-
taking of the
session
oath
is
before the
suspended.
presiding officer.
Okay. Medyo nagkaroon ng konting friction doon. Si Senator Ontiveros
Was
asking that let's...
making a manifestation, tapos biglang ini-interrupt ni Senator Marcos.
Risa was saying, let's proceed na with the oath taking as agreed on. I don't know if that's the right word for it. Yesterday daw na yung oath taking takes precedence over all the other motions.
The word agreed, disagreed, disagreement has become loaded.
Okay,
Pero
meeting
we
minds.
should, yes, but we
Meeting
should,
minds.
but we should not,
Are they back?
refrain from using it. Kasi sila lang
The
naman.
fact that the point of order takes precedence.
Order of Senator Marcos.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. President. And I'd just like to reiterate that I wasn't being rude, but simply recognizing the fact that the point of order takes precedence over all other motions. Also, that there is, in fact, a motion already pending on the floor, already acknowledged as well by our majority leader, which requires a vote.
Duly noted, but the chair has not yet acted on the motion, and there has been no objection as of yet. We will address the motion of Senator Bato, as the chair said earlier, after we hear from Senator Villanueva now.
With all due respect, Senate President, the Deputy Minority Leader is proposing yet another motion on top of the pending motion.
The chair
That
will
is not allowed.
The chair has not yet acted on that motion and will not yet so act on that motion. And we'll be making a ruling after we hear from all of those who raised their hands earlier. So, with the indulgence of Senator Marcos, can we hear from Senator Villanueva?
Thank you very much.
And then the chair will rule on the pending matters. Senator Villanueva is recognized.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. Mr. President, if I hear it right, the movant made a motion to dismiss the impeachment complaint, if I heard it right, Mr. President. Mr. President, may I just place on record that this representation respectfully object to that motion. Mr. President, for various reasons, Mr. President, that this representation would like to raise on the floor, Mr. President. One, Mr. President, is that the Senate, as a legislative body, And at this point in time, we have not yet convened, Mr. President, as an impeachment court. And therefore, Mr. President, this representation believes that we have no constitutional authority as legislative body to dismiss an impeachment complaint. Let me quote the Constitution under Article 11, Section 3, Number 6 of the 87 Constitution. The Senate's role is expressly limited to trying and deciding all cases of impeachment after the House of Representatives has transmitted a valid articles of impeachment. Mr. President, the Senate, in its capacity as a legislative body, does not possess the constitutional authority to unilaterally dismiss an impeachment complaint. And under the constitutional framework, the Senate assumes a distinct and separate function when acting an impeachment court. Please don't get me wrong, Mr. President. In fact, a lot of the statements made by Senator Bato de la Rosa, I share. I shared the sentiments, Mr. President. In fact, Mr. President, when the impeachment case was filed, or the articles of impeachment were transmitted here in the Senate, an hour before we adjourned, Mr. President, before our break, a week after, more than 380 pages, Mr. President, of annexes ang dumating po, Mr. President. So, dun pa lang, Mr. President, I agree with Senator Bato's statement na somehow minadali or tignan natin. But again, Mr. President, my only concern here is that we have not yet convened as an impeachment court. We can probably dismiss this or even entertain the motion if we are already acting as an impeachment court. Let me go to my other point, Mr. President. The Senate lacks the power to dismiss an impeachment complaint and has no constitutional duty to proceed to trial. And that's why, Mr. President, if you recall yesterday, this representation mentioned that notices are very important when the minority leader made a motion yesterday that he wanted to stop our legislative work and proceed with the convening of the impeachment court. And he made mention about the calendar of activities, kung kailan magsisimula, ano yung timelines, etc., Mr. President. And that's why I objected again, Mr. President. So in the name of consistency, Mr. President, let me again state for the record, the power of initial determination belongs solely to the House of Representatives. You and I, Mr. President, were members of the House for quite a long time. And we talk about it all the time, that it is the sole power of the House to determine kung yung impeachment or articles of impeachment na itatransmit sa Senado ay merong required votes, etc., etc., at ang tanging sole authority naman ng Senado is to act as an impeachment court, not, Mr. President, not as a gatekeeper of the complaint's sufficiency. Further, Mr. President, it bears emphasis that the framers of the Constitution intended a clear division of roles. House initiates, and the Senate tries and decides. Again, Mr. President, I am not even going to say whether or not I will support the motion of our dear colleague, Senator Bato de la Rosa. I'm just saying, Mr. President, that it should be posed, Mr. President, in the impeachment court. Last but not the least, Mr. President, the Senate as a legislative body, or even when it sits as an impeachment court, Mr. President, ito po yung ating posisyon, may not dismiss the impeachment complaint due to change of Congress. Impeachment, Mr. President, is a political discretion. It's not a political discretion, but a constitutional mechanism rooted in the principle that public office is a public trust. Alam na po natin lahat yan bilang mga lingkod bayan. Yung sinasaad ng 87 Constitution, which provides public office, is a public trust. Public officers and employees must at all times be accountable to the people. This duty, Mr. President, is not suspended, nullified, or extinguished by the expiration of the legislative calendar or the transition to a new Congress. But again, I also believe and support the statements made a while ago by Senator Bato de la Rosa. Yung pong functus officius ng Senado, hindi ho applicable sa atin dahil kalahati nga ho sa atin dito, magiging parte pa rin ng impeachment court, parte pa rin ng Senado. Pero dun po sa House, hindi na. So kailangan talaga na malaman natin kung sila'y interesado pa dun sa impeachment na kanilang i-final. Mr. President, just this morning, if I don't know if this morning or last night, I saw an article. I'm not sure if it's Justice Ascuna or Attorney Divina saying that the House must actually do something, whether at least, the very least, is to pass a resolution authorizing, Mr. President, their representatives, their prosecutors, that they are indeed have the blessing of the 20th Congress. Kaya po, muli, Ginoong Pangulo, ang aking pag-object doon po sa motion ng ating kagalang-galang at kaibigan, Senator Bato de la Rosa, ay base po sa mga binanggit ko po na mga reasons. Maraming salamat, Ginoong Pangulo.
Before the chair makes a ruling, Senator Bato.
Yes, Mr. President. I just would like to share this august body, the basis for my motion. According to Chief Justice Renato Puno in Francisco versus House of Representatives, a number of things can be done before the Senate is convened as an impeachment court. For example, the Senate, which has the primary jurisdiction over the case, can decide the question of whether the one-year ban has been violated or not. Likewise, the Senate can decide whether the complaint on its face has any legal basis.
Mr. President, if I may.
So as not to belabor the point, Chair would like to state the parliamentary status and make a ruling. Again, to reiterate, Senator Bato, after the end of his privileged speech, made a motion, but before the Chair could act on that motion, he asked for the recognition of Senator Bato, who wanted to second the motion of Senator Bato at the end of his speech. Before the Chair could act on that motion and recognize Senator Bato, Senator Ontiveros and Senator Villanueva signified their intention to speak. Senator Ontiveros made a motion. Made a motion to suspend further consideration of the matter at hand so that we can proceed to take our oaths. And then Senator Marcos raised the point of order that there are too many pending motions on the floor and that we should dispose of them, as correctly pointed out by her. Senator Villanueva objected to the motion of Senator Bato. With the permission of Senator Villanueva, hindi ko po ituturing na objection yung inyong sinabi dahil ayon mismo sa inyo, hindi naman kayo tutol doon sa motion ni Senator Bato, kanya lamang. Gusto nyo at sa paniniwala nyo, pwede lamang ito magawa kapag tayo ay isang impeachment court na at hindi bilang isang Senado. Ayon sa authority na kino-quote ni Senator Bato, may opinion, may concurring opinion. Si dating Chief Justice Puno na pwedeng itong gawin ng Senado. Concurring and dissenting opinion siya sa pagkakaalala ko sa Francisco. With the permission of the gentleman on the floor, the chair is of the considered view that and takes well the position of Senator Villanueva. We will act on the motion of Senator Bato, but as an impeachment court.
Yes.
We cannot act on the motion of Senator Bato unless we take our oaths as members of the impeachment court. Therefore, once the impeachment court is after we take our oaths and we convene the impeachment court, Senator Bato can reiterate his motion, Senator Go can then second his motion, if at all, and we will proceed to dispose of such motion after we hear from everyone who wants to speak on the matter.
Mr. President, just to clarify your statement, Mr.
Senator
President.
Villanueva, before I make a ruling.
Yes, Mr. President, you were saying, Mr. President, because the way I look at it, you're saying, Mr. President, that in order for us to dispense with the motion of Senator Bato, we would have to convene?
We would have to convene the impeachment,
impeachment court.
as you said earlier.
Yes, Mr. President, I thank you for that. But in order for us to convene again, Mr. President, and just for the information of our law students and those who wanted to learn from these proceedings, Mr. President, this representation made a statement yesterday that we cannot proceed with the convening of the impeachment court unless we issue notices, Mr. President. And I made mention about it because the minority leader's motion yesterday was to convene and at the same time talk about the calendar of activities, Mr. President. And so I would just like to put that on record, Mr. President, because we are not going to discuss the agenda of the, if we convene the impeachment court. Is that the case, Mr. President?
The matters to be discussed requiring notice included the schedule, proposed schedule of the impeachment complaint, which needed the presence of the parties, however.
Because if we can do it by ourselves, for example, Mr. President, just approving our rules on impeachment, issuing summons, we don't need to issue notices. Is that correct, Mr. President?
However, there are certain matters that the court can do motu proprio.
Yes.
And it would perhaps include these matters, which is up for the consideration of the court once we convene. So
Thank
again,
you, Mr. President, thank you.
Senator Bato is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just would like to counter the statement of Senator Joel Villanueva, Mr. President. You know, as the good Senate President mentioned yesterday, the Senate dismissed the impeachment complaint against Ombudsman Gutierrez after she resigned without convening the impeachment court. Therefore, the Senate, without convening into impeachment court, is not prohibited from dismissing the impeachment case, Mr. President. It's very clear. When you say iba nga kasi nag-resign. Pero still, the capacity or the legality of the action of the Senate not convened as an impeachment court was not questioned. So therefore, considering this case, I think we can do the same, Mr. President.
Mr. President, if I may, Mr. President, this is in reaction, Mr. President.
With the permission of the gentlemen who have the floor, Chair will suspend for a few minutes because you will most likely simply engage in a debate because clearly you both have different positions on the matter. Session is suspended.
Okay, suspension muli at ang desisyon ng
This is third or fourth?
I don't know anymore.
Parang third.
Ang huling desisyon ni Senate President Escudero is mag-convene muna tayo bilang isang impeachment court saka pagdedesisyonan yung motion ni Bato.
Which Bato is vehemently against, citing the case of former Ombudsman Gutierrez, wherein the Senate dismissed the impeachment complaint, but that was after Gutierrez resigned. So his point being, meron namang legal basis for the Senate to dismiss an impeachment complaint. But again, we're in uncharted waters here because the special... the contributing factor to that, the key factor to that was the fact that si Ombudsman Gutierrez resigned.
No, wala ka na i-impeach.
Correct. And the whole point of impeachment is holding
people to account.
Public officials to account.
Yeah. Although the argument also there was if you continue the impeachment, even if the subject had resigned, then you can
she
prevent
could serve
her
the
from
second penalty, which is prevent her from holding office
perpetual
again
disqualification.
perpetually. Right.
So that's
correct.
also the
that's
other
also a good
option.
point.
But we never got that far. So again, like you said, it's uncharted territory.
And in that case, they dismissed the complaint without convening as a court.
Oh, we're back.
So, okay, so we can see Senate President Cheese taking his desk again.
Chair would like to make a ruling with the permission and indulgence of the gentleman who had the floor earlier. Again, to reiterate the parliamentary status. It is the opinion of Senator Villanueva that we can only act on the motion of Senator Bato if we convene if we constitute ourselves and convene as an impeachment court. It is the opinion of Senator Bato that we can act on the matter sitting as a Senate in plenary. While both are considered, while the chair considers both legal and possible and probable, the chair prefers that we convene as an impeachment court first before we act on the motion of Senator Bato, and after we approve the rules, that will be the first item in the agenda of the court, after being seconded by Senator Go.
Point of clarification.
Yes, Majority Leader.
With the permission of Senator Bato, would that mean, Mr. President, that the motion pending right now would have to be reiterated before the impeachment trial court by the movant, Mr. President?
Yes, that is correct, Your Honor.
And
Given the position of the chair, Senator Bato.
Yeah, with the indulgence of the Senate President.
Yes, please.
May I respectfully request that before the ruling is made, or you have made the ruling already, so I therefore object momentarily your ruling because I have to consult my
Session is
my
suspended.
colleague.
Session is suspended for a minute.
Okay.
Okay, may ruling ang chair, pero mukhang maki-question pa ni Senator Bato. ang ruling ng chair.
Ang ruling ng chair is they have to convene as an impeachment court first before they decide on the motions.
Ang preference kasi is that they do not act on the impeachment complaint as the Senate.
What Senator Bato is trying to do is get them to decide on the resolutions without convening as a court. I'm not entirely sure why he is very particular that wag na muna sila mag-convene. Maybe he's been advised legally that it's better that way, that the court does not, that the process doesn't commence yet, and that they dismiss, rather that they act on the resolutions right away. Hindi ko sure.
But I can imagine kasi, you know, if you're trying to block the charges, you block it as early as you can, and so you have more leeway as you go down. If you don't succeed, so yun. What you have right now is well, si Bato nga saying that he's objecting momentarily while he consults his lawyers.
Right. I get the strategy. I get the tactic of trying to block things as early as possible. But then again, you also have to go in on a strong legal foundation, right? And if you listen to all of his colleagues in the Senate, they're all, whatever the issues with the procedures and the rules and all of that, everyone at this point, or at least the majority sounds like at this point, agree na they have to convene. There is no contravening that particular constitutional mandate, right? The Constitution gives them this mandate and they have to abide by it. And I don't think any of the other senators, particularly the ones who are lawyers, will agree to the idea of not convening at all. So yun yung discrepancy here. This is the part where I don't understand. Okay, parang I understand what you're saying. He's trying to block it as early as possible, but then you also have to go by on a legal basis, right?
Anyway, si SP Cheese is saying that the chair considers both positions of Bato and Villanueva as legal and possible and even probable. However, the preference of the chair is that we convene as the impeachment court before acting on the motion, and only after the approval of the rules, mahaba pa pala. I keep forgetting about that. You have to approve the rules.
They have to read the articles of impeachment pa. Marami pang steps to. So this is why.
But the reading of the articles of impeachment, that's pro forma. But the rules.
We thought oath-taking was pro forma. Pero look how many times...
The rules, pag-aawayan yan. Because that's going to govern everything.
Of course. Pero we thought a lot of these things were pro forma, were just procedural. Pero look where we are, nakailang suspensions na tayo today.
But it's not the oath-taking that's taking long. It's the things that they want to be done before the oath-taking.
Exactly my point. Exactly the point, right? It seems that at every turn, there's going to be objection.
Oh, here we go again.
SP is back at his seat. Let's listen in.
For the last time, the chair will now state the parliamentary status. Senator Bato made a motion that Senator Go wanted to second. Senator Joel took the position that we should sit as an impeachment court before we can act on that motion. For the chair, the suggestion of Senator Villanueva is well taken, while recognizing also the position of Senator Bato, although the chair prefers the position of Senator Villanueva that we first convene as an impeachment court before acting on the motion. So the chair hereby rules that in order to act on the motion of Senator Bato, we should first convene as an impeachment court by taking, by this representation, presiding over the oath-taking of the members of the Senate, where the first item in the agenda of the impeachment court, after we approve our rules, will be to act on the motion of Senator Bato, listen to the seconding speech of Senator Go, and perhaps the seconding speech also of Senator Padilla, or whomsoever would like to second the motion, allow the members to speak before dividing the House. Therefore, Chair will suspend session in order to allow the members to kindly don your robes, impeachment robes, so that the Chair can subscribe the oath to the members of the impeachment court so that we can convene the impeachment court and do the things, the items rather, that the chair mentioned earlier. Senator Bato.
Mr. President, I think I got the point of the good minority leader. And I would like to expound this, Mr. President, that after we take oath, Mr. President, can we go back as a Senate, not as an impeachment court, para pagbigyan na makapagsalita yung aking mga kasamahan, si Senator Bungo at si Senator Robinhood Padilla, not as an impeachment court, but as a Senate, Mr. President. Just reverting back our status after taking an oath.
Mr. President, may I make a suggestion?
Senator Allen is recognized.
Sir, konting patience po from someone na mas madalas makipag-away kaso sa ipagbati ang ating mga kasama. May I propose this? I disagree with Senator Bato in dismissing the case. I agree with him based on former Chief Justice Puno's statement. And naniniwala kasi ako pag jurisdiction, titignan muna natin sa body. Having said that, tama ang ruling ng Senate President that either or, which is better. The only reason I think that better yung impeachment court because we will take an oath of political neutrality. While there's no test for that, konsensya na natin lahat once we take our oath. May I suggest, because I think the konting disagreement between my two brothers, Brother Joel and Brother Robin, is may feeling na hindi natin pinapasalita yung iba. May piling naman ng minority dahil mas konti sila ay sinusupil ang kanilang karapatan isulong ang isang constitutional duty. May piling naman yung iba dito sa likod na bakit masusunod yung minority. But I think, Mr. President, when we convene as an impeachment court, am I correct? Senator Bongo and Senator Robin and anyone who wants to speak on the issue of dismissal or any other motion will be able to speak and can move that their statement also be reflected in our session after or tomorrow.
That is correct, Your Honor.
So that they don't have to repeat it twice. Because the problem, Senator Bato is not an attorney, but he's talking like an attorney. So Senator Batorni, my humble opinion is mas mabuting mag-oath at doon because the statement of Senator Bongo and Senator... Ako mismo, I wanna argue bakit hindi dismiss. If I argue it here now, then I will have to argue again in the impeachment court. But if we argue it in the impeachment court, then move that it also be in the records of the legislative session, then we have both of best worlds, if it's acceptable to you. Yeah. If it's acceptable to you, Brother Robin. Yeah. And to the minority leader. Thank you, Mr. President.
The point of Senator Cayetano, accepted by the members so mentioned, is well taken. Chair now again reiterates its ruling. The chair will suspend the session until 6 p.m. This evening in order to afford... Gaano katagal ba nyo kailangan magbihis? Huh? Forthwith, di ba?
6:15 probably, Mr. President. Would be
Chair
reasonable.
hereby orders that session is suspended until 6:15
Thank you, Mr. President.
to afford our members time to don their impeachment robes in order for the members rather, to subscribe. Ano? That is your option, to subscribe to the oath, approve the rules, and dispose of the motion of Senator Bato. So ordered, session is suspended until 6:15.
Halos 20 minuto para magbihis. In the meantime, suspendido lahat.
Fourth suspension of the day.
Malinaw ang mangyayari ngayon. 6:15, oath-taking na finally. Magbibihis na sila. Pagkatapos noon, iko-considera, approve muna ng rules. So, kailan kaya sila magbobotohan kay Bato? Not unless the rules have already been decided on.
The rules have not been decided on. And as you pointed out earlier, mahaba-habang usapan yan.
Kaya,
Because everyone will want to be heard. Everyone will have ideas on how the rules should look like. And remember,
the rules are important because it's going to govern the rest of the...
Correct. There are existing rules na that they're gonna base this on. They're not starting from scratch. May existing rules na yan. I-edit na lang nila.
From the nili Senate.
Magdadagdag or magbabawas or they will tweak certain things. But yes, that's gonna be a long conversation, I imagine. Mukhang hindi, aabot tonight yung the decision to dispense of the resolution ni Senator Bato. Because if they're going to resume at 6:15, well, I mean, I don't know. They could go on till late in the night.
Yeah,
which
which
they've said na they're not averse to. So, ngayon, they're putting on the robes so they could all convene together as an impeachment court finally. I mean, take their oaths as senator judges. Wala pa.
Not convene.
See, ito na nga yun. This is the technicalities part that keeps getting us, right? Technically, hindi pa to yung convening of the impeachment court. Bukas pa daw yun. Bukas pa daw yun.
You're creating palang the elements of the court. You have not
bringing
yet,
together.
You're assembling them. You have not yet forged them into one.
But,
That doesn't sound convincing.
Somebody raised this question and I echo it. What would have prevented them from doing all of this yesterday, right? I mean, I know they blaze through 24 ilan yon, bills on third reading. Na, to borrow your word, mostly pro forma na lang kasi formality na lang yon. But was that more important than this?
Well, depends on who you ask, because you've heard some of the senators say that our job is to legislate.
Of course.
More than anything. So some of them have taken that position
Get these out of the way before we
because
go on recess.
These bills will lapse with the 20th Congress.
It ends with them.
Impeachment will not, so long as they get it started or they get it convened. Not constituted, convened.
There's still time. I mean, there's still
time until the 30th of June. So,
Pero it's interesting that the first thing that they will do, it seems like, is not to decide on the rules of the impeachment court, but the first thing they have to do is to, number one, take the oath, and then number two, decide on the motion by Senator Bato.
Something of interest to a lot of people, nabanggit to ni Alan Peter Cayetano among the things that they will swear to in kanilang oath as senator judges is an oath of political neutrality.
Well, ito na nga yung sinasabi ko na people keep laughing at me about.
Nobody's laughing at you for that.
You're laughing at them. This is a very important oath. This is an oath separate from their oath and from the oath that they took when they were sworn in as senators, diba? So now they're
because the senators, they were political animals.
Correct. So now they're taking an oath as senator judges. Itong oath na to presupposes that they will be apolitical in this process, that they will decide, that they will vote based on the evidence at hand, period. Yun lang yun. That's all it is.
Well, I don't know if apolitical is the right word for it. I suppose fair.
Neutral.
There's no such thing as neutral anyway.
Yung term ni Senator Alan Peter Cayetano?
Political neutrality.
Political neutrality, correct. Yun yung oath. That's what the oath is all about. That they have to take it and then, sabi nga niya, kung...
You see the senators horsing around already in their robes.
pero sabi ni Alan Peter Cayetano, correctly, that there is no way to measure political neutrality as a senator judge.
Nasa konsensya natin yun.
Nasa konsensya nyo na yun ng each of the senator judges how they will carry out their duties. And this is a solemn oath that they're taking. Let me just, reiterate that point. Kasi they're not just legislators, but the law gives you power in this very specific instance to act as senator judge. Ito na yung quasi-judicial function ng Senate.
To decide on issues that relate to high crimes. High crimes.
High crimes. They're very serious crimes that they have to decide on, right?
That involve the highest officials of the land. That's why these are impeachable officials only.
So there was also a suggestion to cut the articles of impeachment from 7 to 2, which I think they're not in agreement about. Right? Kasi, I mean, the idea to cut it down to 2 was so para pasok sa deadline.
Yeah, but those are those are the articles of impeachment passed by or approved and initiated by the.
Hindi mo na magagalaw yun, di ba?
I suppose it depends on how the prosecutors will present their case. Kasi in presenting your case naman, I suppose you can smoosh them together. Maybe that's the wrong word.
Condense.
Yeah.
So, kunyari, you try graft together with corruption, together with
Kasi you're the one prosecuting anyway, so you're the one presenting the evidence to prove a point.
Right.
So
they can do it. The prosecution side can do it.
The prosecutors will have the leeway to do
Meaning
that.
HOR can do it if they want to. Pero sabi nga ng HOR, the Congress leaders, that they don't want to do that.
Yeah, but they might change their mind. You never know. We're so delayed anyway already. So let's see how that goes. Ano oras na ba? May 10 minuto pa.
Well, some of them are ready. Some of them we can see them laughing, joking around. Nag-uusap-usap na.
Nabanggit ni Senator Cheese. At saka actually nabanggit ni Ronnie Holmes ng Pulse Asia. Si Robin Hood Padilla, Senator Robin Hood Padilla was also set to speak.
Deliver a privileged speech, presumably to
Don't know,
second the motion.
Maybe to to support. Kasi si Bongo yung magsa-second the motion. Nung second the motion na nga si Bongo eh. Baka si will be a further endorsement. So you're seeing the Duterte bloc in action. Actually, you also saw Amy Marcos
Trying to raise a point of order during Senator Riza Ontiveros' manifestation. Ang point of order niya ay hindi pwede mag-raise ng isa pang motion whilst you haven't deliberated on the previous motion. Tama ba? Something along those lines. It was a very procedural issue that Senator Amy Marcos raised.
So yon, pag natapos aprubahan yung rules ng impeachment court, saka actionan yung number 1, yung motion ni Bato. Number 2, papakinggan yung second the motion ni Bongo. At number 3, papakinggan yung, is it still second the motion pag third na siya?
Na-delay kasi kanina eh. It was put off.
I mean, si Padilla kasi is also, is it second the motion then?
He has his own motion, di ba?
No.
Pero pareho lang sila. They're both to dismiss the impeachment complaint.
Anyway, so then so Bato, Bongo, and then Padilla, and then they will allow the other members of the chamber to speak before dividing the House. When you say dividing the House, that means put it to a vote.
Correct. So, it feels like aabot naman sila sa June 11 timeline that was set by SP Cheese na to convene as an impeachment court.
Let's see,
lang
kasi if they're going to put it to a vote, it's putting to a vote motion
yung
to
resolution
dismiss.
ni Senator Bato.
The motion to dismiss. So you will see tonight, if at all, a decision on whether or not this moves forward or not, or goes to Supreme Court.
I feel like it's such a big resolution, and I feel like they will not be voting on it tonight. Given how, I mean, look at this. Oath-taking pa lang na delay na by 2.5 hours, right? So it's such a big decision as this.
And
I don't think they will
allow the members
decide
to talk.
on it.
They will allow the members to talk.
They will allow
And
everyone
I can
to
imagine everybody will want to
manifest.
talk.
Correct.
And argue.
Correct.
So,
Yeah.
malay mo, mamayang hating tayo anong oras namin. No, seriously, this is going to take some time kasi nga, it's a major motion to dismiss. So, ang mangyayari niyan, pagdidebatihan yan, pag-uusapan yan, everybody will pitch in, and then they will divide the House, which means that they will vote on whether or not to dismiss.
The other reason I don't think tonight yung voting is because, again, officially, hindi pa sila nag-convene as a court.
Convened as a court.
Mag-o-taking pa lang tonight, yung convening as an impeachment court, bukas pa yon, tomorrow afternoon. So, again, SP Cheese has already ruled on this debate. Sabi niya, we first have to convene. He agrees with Senator Joel. They first have to convene as an impeachment court before they can decide on any resolution. So it will, that's why I believe tomorrow pa sila mag-vote, if ever, on the resolution that was filed by Senator Bato.
That's wishful thinking.
That is true, no? There's been so many twists. There have been so many twists and turns in this whole thing.
That's wishful thinking on your part.
Can you even think back to as far as February 5 when this all happened, that fateful day nung hinabol
sila.
nung Congress?
Na-traffic kaya sila?
5, anong oras na yung dumating sa Senate? 5:30?
Well, they say it was 2 hours before the Senate closed. So, well, yeah. So, hindi naman 5 siguro.
Hindi. Officially, tinanggap ni Senate Secgen yung articles of impeachment at around 5:30 plus na yan, if I recall correctly. It was past 5 p.m. Umabot sa Senate ng 1 hour or 2 hours whilst they were in session. But, and we confirmed this with Senator Coco, hindi nila officially tinanggap. Meaning it was not endorsed to Senate officially, which they needed to do. So, in the subsequent days, we thought, okay, here's SP Cheese, surely he will call.
Hindi nga galaw hindi nga umabot ng rules eh.
Kaya nga. So, hindi gumalaw at that time. And the general assumption was that they will wait after the midterm elections, which, is exactly what happened, that they will wait after the midterm elections to tackle this big case. In the meantime, the woman of the hour, si Vice President Sara Duterte, is not here. She is in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. We got official word on it today that she has traveled there for a personal trip and also to attend the June 12 Independence. She will attend some June 12 Independence Day rites with some OFWs there.
To your question, Karina, why is it so important to Bato to have it dismissed even before they convene as an impeachment court? Balikan ko yung sabi ni Bato. Kasi di ba, Cheese was saying, let's do it na lang after we take the oath of office.
Ang point niya, may precedents naman with Ombudsman Gutierrez.
Can we go back, even after we do that, can we go back as a Senate and not as an impeachment court? Para pagbigyan magsalita si Senator, ako, tsaka Senator Go, tsaka si Padilla. Can we revert back to the point where we were before we took the oath? So something curious lang na why is it that important for them to revert back to the Senate instead of the impeachment court?
Which is a fair point. And the other fair point here is, remember, this is sui generis, as we keep bringing up. It is a case of its own. It is a special case. So ultimately, sila din magde-decide ng rules nito.
Yeah.
Like how they will go about it.
Si Alan Peter was looking for a compromise kasi ang tingin ni Alan Peter, baka Bato wants it on the record of the Senate. That's why sabi ni Alan Peter, you just make your motion before the impeachment court and have them give their privileged speeches before the impeachment court and then have it reflected lang in the Senate records. That they tackled the resolution. The same motion and the same speeches in the Senate record.
May question din as to what kind of precedence this sets, no? Because and again, maraming pwedeng ma-challenge to legally if they do decide to dismiss. And even the fact that they're convening and the first thing that they will decide on is the resolution. Kasi you're now, once you take the oath, you're now a quasi-judicial body. Back to your question, do you then revert back to being a Senate, wherein you decide on resolutions filed by your members?
If you're a quasi-judicial body, then are you not yet convened?
Convened ka na. So once you're a
so once they take
court,
their oath tonight, they're convened?
Parang the assumption is you become your own. You take off your hat.
So they don't have to wait for tomorrow.
You take off your hat as a legislator. You take off your hat as a Senate, as the upper chamber. You put on another hat as a senator judge, right? So the question there is as well, do you just, pwede ba yun? Like the first thing you do is decide on a resolution?
One to the other. Tatalon-talon ka. Take off my robe and put on my polo barong.
Parang
takes them 15 minutes.
This is sui generis. Ito na yung that all-important...
Wait, we have Merimon. Merimon Reyes from the Senate. Merimon, nakabisa ba sila?
Ako habang hindi pa tayo pinapalabas at hindi pa bumabalik ang session, isa-isa nang pumapasok ang mga senador na suot na yung kanilang mga robe. Dahil nga ang isa sa pinaka napag-initan ng din kanina ay nung binuksan ni Senator Bato de la Rosa yung kanyang motion na i-dismiss itong impeachment complaint. Pero ang sinabi dito ni Senate President Chis Escudero, maaari nilang talakayin yung mga ito at mapagdesisyonan kung sakali kapag sila na ay nagsilbi bilang isang impeachment court. So later on, may kita na natin yung kanilang pag-take, yung panunumpa nila, pag-oath taking nila bilang senator judges. At sa mga susunod na oras, doon din natin makikita na bukod sa pag-finalize ng impeachment rules, ano nga ba ang magiging kalendaryo na nila bilang impeachment court? Kung ilalaban na ba nila, magro-roll out na ba talaga itong impeachment proceeding, or gagawin lang muna talaga ito para matalakay yung motion ni Senator Bato de la Rosa?
Bok, mukha bang magko-convene sila in a few minutes o mukhang magtatagal pa? How many days already?
Actually, sa loob lang ng ilang minuto, makukumpleto na sila dito sa loob. Kasi binigay lang na actually around 6:10 or 6:15 dapat kumpleto na sila dito para mag-resume na yung session at mag-oath taking na sila agad-agad. So yun na yung pinaka-convening nila for now kasi ang malinaw pa rin sa ngayon sinasabi nila constituted pa lang din daw ang pinaka-impeachment court dito, hindi pa convened. Pero since nagkaroon nga ng ganitong motion si Senatora Bato de la Rosa, ganito na muna ang latest na sitwasyon dito sa Senado.
Mukha bang paalisin kayo dyan sa, sa session hall o hindi lang kayo pagla-live?
Medyo malabo kasing mag-live report sa loob kapag bumalik na ang session.
Okay. Sorry, Jan? Mukhang nagkakainitan daw si Joel tsaka si Robin. Nasisilip mo ba kung ano nangyari?
Subukin natin makasilip pa ng dalian. Kanina kasi nagkaroon sila ng kaunting initan. Pero hindi naman umabot sa paghahambalo sa isa't isa.
Oo, nakita mo ba ano nangyari kanina? Kanina pala yun.
Bato ang sitwasyon dito ngayon sa loob. So far, mukhang mapayapa pa naman at nag-uusap-usap pa yung ilang mga senador. Pero kanina kasi itong ang Senadora Joel Villanueva at si Senator Robin Padilla, nagkaroon sila ng heated moment pagkatapos nga na mag-move din itong Senator Villanueva na ipagpatuloy itong kanilang impeachment proceeding. So, titignan natin mamaya pagkasuot na nila yung kanilang mga robe at kapag sila na ay nag-oath bilang senator judges kung may mababago nga ba sa magiging desisyon ng plenaryo pagdating sa impeachment proceeding.
Ano yung mood dyan, Mary Mon? Apart from yung nagkainitan, yung part na nagkainitan si Sen Joel and Sen, was it Alan Peter?
Medyo tense kasi kanina pa lang right after mag-start itong kanilang plenary session, nagkaroon kasi muna ng mga privilege speeches pero binring up na kasi dito nila Senadora Risa Ontiveros na kung maaari raw nila Senator Coco Pimentel na magawa na yung oath-taking as scheduled 4 o'clock p.m. kasi nagsimula itong kanilang plenaryo around 4:13, nearing 4:13 in the afternoon. Tapos nag-privilege speeches daw. So nade-delay daw, natatagalan imbis na ginawa na dapat yung kanilang oath-taking na napagdesisyonan kagabi. So simula doon nagkaroon na talaga ng atensyon dito sa Senado. And we'll see kung ano nga ba ang matatranspire nitong desisyon pagtungkol nga dito sa magiging impeachment proceeding. Kasi tinanong din kanina ni Senator Bato de la Rosa, pagkatapos daw nila mag-convene as impeachment court, pwede pa raw ba silang mag-revert back as a Senate? Kasi nga ang pinag-uusapan dito yung motion, yung magiging privilege speeches pa raw ng ibang mga senador at yung iba pang kailangan talakayin na pagdating sa legislations. Pero ang nasabi naman dito kanina nga, kung ang pag-uusapan, kung ang concern daw ay yung motion ni Senadora Bato de la Rosa, dismiss the impeachment complaint, dito nila yun mapag-uusapan as an impeachment court. Pero pagdating na doon, iba pang kailangan daw nilang talakayin, titignan natin kung magkakaroon nga ba ng reverting back as a Senate or mananatili na muna talaga silang impeachment court at haharapin muna itong impeachment trial o impeachment proceeding rather kay VP Sara Duterte. Bok.
Okay. Bok, ako, subukan ko lang. I don't know if you have the answer to this, pero subukan ko lang just in case. Do we know kung if the Senate has drafted a new set of impeachment rules or if it's reverting to the rules that were promulgated nung panahon ni Enrile for the corona impeachment, or if they're just adopting that and amending and revising lamang that para lang meron ng umandal. I'm asking that kasi I understand pagkatapos ng oath-taking, they will approve the rules. We're wondering lang how long that's going to take. Are they starting from scratch ba o meron na silang framework?
Bok, yan yung wala pa tayong impormasyon ngayon. At tulad nga ng nasabi mo, once na mag-convene sila sa impeachment court, doon natin maririnig kung paano nga ba nila, kung may babaguhin sila sa impeachment rules. Pero kasi, kaninang umaga, nag-file itong si Senate Majority Leader Francis Tolentino na isang resolution at nakalagay dito yung calendar na maaari raw sanang magawa sa impeachment trial. So starting tomorrow, June 11 until June 30, gagawin doon mismo impeachment trial. So since na-file yun today, umabot siya sa Senate Committee on Justice, maaaring matalakay yun. At di natin alam pa sa ngayon kung magpagbobotohan ba nila, kung i-consider nila yung 19-day litigation calendar or as kung ano pa rin yung pinaniniwalaan ni Senate President Chis Escudero, hanggang issuing lang sila ng summons, 20th Congress na ang magbubukas ng pinaka-impeachment trial proper. Bo.
Kasi I can imagine, mabusisi yung rules kasi napaka-importante niyan as far as the procedures go. If you don't get the rules right, pag-aawayan yan as we go along.
But si Merrimon raised a really good point, yung question nga na pwede pa ba, well, according to yung question nga ni Bato earlier, pwede pa ba mag-revert as a legislative body once you've taken your oath? Ito na naman yung one of those questions na hindi na, parang ang hirap sagutin because you could go either way. But Merrimon, in terms of the ano pang balak nila for tonight? Ay, klaro ba sa inyo, sa mga Senate reporters dyan, that they will decide on the Senator Bato's resolution tonight or hindi necessarily?
Reg, pagdating doon sa motion ni Senator Bato de la Rosa, we're expecting na magkakaroon ng sagot dyan ang plenaryo kasi since ang reason, hindi na lang dahil basta kailangan nilang makapag-oath taking ngayon tulad na pagdesisyonan kagabi, mag-oath taking sila ngayon and technically convening as an impeachment court to tackle yung motion ni Senator Bato de la Rosa. So on that one, sure ball na meron pa kayong makukuha ang sagot mula dito sa mga senador. Pero ang malinaw pa kasi as of kanina umaga is June 11, tomorrow, pa rin talaga yung sinasabing magaganap yung convening ng Senado as an impeachment court, finalization ng impeachment rules, issuance of summons. Pero kung sakali man nga na dito, baka biglaan rin magkaroon ng pagbabago kasi nag-convene na talaga sila. They're going to tackle mismo yung motion ni Senator Bato de la Rosa. So we'll find out if i-dismiss ba, hindi i-dismiss, or kung pagpapatuloy na ba talaga nila yung gagawin ngayon na supposedly gagawin palang bukas.
Oo. Kaya nga, yun din, that's the other part na medyo confused ako kasi if they convene, if they take their oaths tonight, if nag-oath taking na sila tonight, they wear their robes and everything, tapos magde-decide na sila on the motion, hindi ba parang you've convened as an impeachment court right then and there? Bakit yung official convening is tomorrow pa? Tonight na yun diba? Kung magde-decide ka on one resolution.
Especially a resolution as important as the dismissal.
Oo. So
actually, just to try to focus that. So ano ba? Pag nagdesisyon sila ngayong gabi dun sa dismissal or if they try to decide on the dismissal resolution ng Bato, is that effectively convened na yung impeachment court?
Sabi hindi pa daw hindi ba? Or
Yan yung aabangan natin kasi nga ang sinabi pa rin ni SP kanina, itong kanilang ginagawang ceremonial rites ay constituting pa lang daw ng impeachment court, hindi pa raw literally na nagko-convene.
Merrimon, we're going back.
Sorry.
Si Cheese is there.
Thank you, Merrimon, for your report. Sige, pasok na ulit tayo.
At this time, the chair will preside the oath to the senators in the chamber in conformity with Article 11, Section 3, Paragraph 6 of the Constitution. What is the pleasure of the Honorable Marcos?
Yes, Mr. President. May I place on record that I make this oath ad cautelam without prejudice to the resolution of jurisdictional issues as well as issues pertaining to the validity of the impeachment complaint or to the filing thereof, if any. Thank you.
Duly noted and entered into the records. What is the pleasure of Senator Padilla?
Gusto ko lamang din pong mailagay sa talaan na ako po ay manunumpa pero meron pong reserbasyon. Yun lamang po.
Duly noted and entered into the records. May I now request everyone to please rise.
Case number 003-2025 in the matter of the impeachment trial of Vice President Sara Zimmerman Duterte. Roll call of Senator Judges. Senator Binay, Senator Cayetano Alan, Senator Cayetano Pia, Senator De La Rosa, Senator Ejercito, Senator Estrada, Senator Gatchalian, Senator Go, Senator Ontiveros, Senator Lapid, Senator Legarda, Senator Marcos, Senator Padilla, Senator Pimentel, Senator Poe, Senator Revilla, Senator Tolentino, Senator Tulfo, Senator Villanueva, Senator Villar Cynthia, Senator Villar Mark, Senator Zubiri, the presiding officer.
With 23 senator judges present, Chair hereby declares the presence of a quorum. Before we take up the matter at hand as earlier agreed upon when the Senate was still sitting in plenary, Chair would like to first adopt our rules. Chair hereby adopts Resolution number 39 of the Rules of Procedure on Impeachment Trials, Rule 6 of which provides that the provisions of the Rules of the Senate and the revised Rules of Court shall apply suppletorily whenever applicable. As such, the following issuances of the Supreme Court shall likewise apply suppletorily to the current matter on the impeachment of Vice President Sara Duterte, namely, the 2019 amended Rules of Civil Procedure, Rule 1 to 34, except Rule 5, Rule 13 as amended, by AM number 1037 SC-AM number 1194 SC, B, 2019 amended Rules on Evidence, C, AM number 3-1-09 SC guidelines to be observed in pretrial and use of deposition discovery measures, Part 1A1 to 9, except provisions on mediation and amicable settlement, D, AM number 1037 SC, AM number 119-4 SC guidelines on electronic filing of lower courts, in lower courts rather, AM number 1288 SC, Judicial Affidavit Rule, except Section 9, and F, such other relevant rules and issuances. It is to be noted that we did not change any of the provisions of the Rules of Procedure because there is already a pending impeachment complaint, and the chair would not want to change the rules in the middle of the game, so to speak. However, the updated amended Rules of Court, as discussed and mentioned and enumerated earlier, shall apply, given the suppletory application of the Rules of Court. Is there any objection? There being none, the aforementioned rules are hereby adopted by the Impeachment Court. Proceeding now to the matter at hand, as earlier agreed upon and discussed by the Senate sitting in plenary. What is the pleasure of Member Judge Tolentino?
Mr. President, for the record, Mr. President, Mr. Presiding Officer,
The gentleman may proceed.
in view of the convening of the impeachment court, I move that the Committee on Rules be discharged with the previous referral of the subject impeachment complaint, considering that the plenary itself, acting as a body, has initiated and ratified the formation of the impeachment court through a direct act. It is therefore submitted that there is no further necessity for a committee report to be submitted, debated, or adopted in relation thereto. I so move, Mr. President.
Any objection to the motion? Hearing none, the Committee on Rules is so discharged as indicated by Member Judge Tolentino. Chair now reiterates the earlier agreed upon matter to be taken up once we have convened as an impeachment court, and for this purpose, the Chair would like to recognize Senator Judge Bato de la Rosa to kindly reiterate his motion, and thereafter, Senator Judge Go to second his motion. Senator de la Rosa is recognized. You may proceed, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Presiding Officer. Sir. So I would reiterate my motion. The
Kindly
motion
restate the motion you made earlier while the Senate was sitting in plenary session.
Yes, Mr. President. In the spirit of true action, therefore, allow me to end by moving. I respectfully move that in view of its constitutional infirmities and question on the jurisdiction and authority of the 20th Congress, the verified impeachment complaint against Vice President Sara Zimmerman Duterte be dismissed. I so move, Mr. President. Mr. Presiding Officer.
Senator Go is recognized for his seconding speech. Rather, Senator Judge Go is recognized for his seconding speech.
Mr. Presiding Officer, I just wish to give my remarks and second the motion of Senator Judge Bato de la Rosa. I agree with the motion of Senator Judge Bato. Ang gusto nating kalabasan ng paglilitis na ito ay hustisya, hindi politika. Mararating lang natin ito kung masasagot ang mga katanungang na hindi nabibigyan ng linaw hanggang ngayon. Kung kaya't sana naman pag-aralan natin ito ng mabuti. Tama na hindi dapat ito patagalin, pero hindi rin dapat ito madaliin. At the very least, pag-aralan natin ito ng mabuti. Baka naman maaari natin itong ibalik o i-remand muna natin. Tama naman po ang accountability. Huwag lang pong politikahin. May tamang proseso ang impeachment. Dapat pag-aralan natin ito ng mabuti. Under Article 11, Section 3 of the 1987 Constitution, a verified complaint for impeachment may be filed by any member of the House of Representatives or by any citizen upon a resolution or endorsement by any member thereof, which shall be included in the order of business within 10 days and referred to the proper committee within 3 session days thereafter. On December 2, 2024, the first impeachment complaint endorsed by members of the House of Representatives was filed before the Secretary General of the lower house. Second and third impeachment complaints were filed in the succeeding days, duly endorsed by members of the House. Under Section 3 of the House Rules of Procedure in Impeachment Proceedings, a verified complaint for impeachment shall be filed with the Office of the Secretary General and immediately referred to the Speaker. Despite this rule, Mr. Presiding Officer, the 3 impeachment complaints filed were never referred to the Office of the Speaker. Instead, a 4th verified impeachment complaint signed by more than 200 congressmen, which now constitutes the articles of impeachment, was transmitted to the Senate. This brings into question the legality of such move when the Constitution provides that no impeachment proceeding shall be initiated against the same official more than once within a period of 1 year. Para sa ordinaryong mamamayan, at lalo na sa aming mga binigyan ng tungkulin na maging senator judge sa paglilitis na ito, this opens up a lot of questions. At ang iniiwasan natin ay yung magpapasya tayo sa isang bagay na makakaapekto sa buhay ng bawat Pilipino. Makakaapekto sa trabaho natin na makatulong sa tao. Tapos hindi naman pala dumaan sa tamang proseso. Yes, we are senator judges tasked to decide on this matter, and we took an oath to be impartial. But this matter, whether it went through the right process or not, should be first decided upon and settled with no question prior to that. We are all for accountability. In fact, maganda nga sana mapakita ng accused at ng accusers kung may ebidensya ba o wala. Pero bilang mga mababatas, dapat siguraduhin alinsunod ito sa batas at tamang proseso. Dapat hindi na circumvent ang batas, dapat nasunod ang due process at ang rules. Hindi pwedeng shortcut. Justice delayed is justice denied, and justice conducted the wrong way is no justice at all. Anong nangyari sa 3 naunang impeachment complaints? Bakit hindi ito agad na-refer sa Speaker's Office? Bakit hindi ito isinama sa order of business within 10 session days? At bakit hindi ito inirefer sa tamang komite within 3 session days after its inclusion in the order of business as mandated by our Constitution? Tila dinrable lang ito at hindi pinaandar ang shot clock. Parang hindi po ma-technical sa oras. Sa basketball nga, Hindi pwedeng puro dribble lang. May shot clock po yan. At may oras na dapat mong obserbahan. Pangalawang issue na dapat bigyang linaw ay kung maaari bang tumawid ang impeachment case sa 20th Congress. This is the first time in our history that an impeachment case was filed nearing the expiration of a legislative Congress. The reality is, we do not have enough time to finish the impeachment trial this Congress. Mag-aabot na po ang 19th at 20th Congresses at magkakaroon na ng new set of senator judges by June 30. Maging tayo, hindi magkasundo kung paano bang tumawid ito sa next Congress o hindi. Mr. Presiding Officer, ilan lang po ito sa katanungan na legality na hindi pa nasasagot. Mayroon pa pong pending sa Supreme Court challenging the legality of the impeachment case. Baka masayang lang ang oras natin dito if in the end, this complaint suffers from constitutional infirmities. Let us focus on what is important for our people that we serve. Hustisya sa tamang paraan at serbisyo na makakatulong sa mga Pilipino. Yun po ang kailangan ng taong bayan. Yun ang dapat pagtuunan ng pansin. Mr. Presiding Officer, para sa akin, mas mabuting unahin natin ang tunay nating trabaho. Ang pagseserbisyo sa taong bayan, maraming nasasayang na oras sa isyong ito na hindi naman mapapakinabangan ng ordinaryong Pilipino. This issue has already been too divisive. Ilang buwan na po. Mag-focus sana tayo sa pangunahing mandato ng lehislatura. Ang gumawa ng mga batas at magsulong sa mga programa na tunay na tutugon sa mga pangangailangan ng ating mga kababayan, lalong-lalo na po yung mga mahirap at walang ibang malalapitan kundi ang gobyerno. Marami pa pong mga pending bills pa po hanggang ngayon na hindi pa natin natatapos with one working day na lang po. Baka hindi pa po may papasa. At ito po'y mapapakinabangan ng mga kababayan natin. Dapat yan po ang ating unahin. As raised by some of our colleagues yesterday, that in as far as the impeachment case is concerned, based on the results of the recent midterm elections, I believe the Filipino people have decided at ang kanilang desisyon, mas gusto po nilang tutukan natin ang trabaho at serbisyo. Tama na, tigilan na natin ang pamumulitika. 3 taon na lang po, matatapos na ang termino ng Vice Presidente. Election na naman, at antayin nyo lang sana. Ang importante sa ating mga kababayan ay may pagkain sa kanilang hapagkainan. May matibay na healthcare system na kayang tumugon sa pangangailangan ng may sakit, disenteng trabaho at marangal na pagkakakitaan, dekalidad at abot kayang edukasyon, at ang katiyakan at panatag na ligtas silang makakauwi kahit sa gabi. Hindi naman nakakain itong impeachment. Sana pwede ninyong ikonsidera at the very least, bago tayo maglitis dito, siguraduhin muna natin na nasa tama na prosesong tinahak natin dito. At the very least nga, sabi ko, marahil pwedeng ibalik o i-remand muna na ito sa pinagmulan sa House of Representatives dahil marami pang ang katanungan ang legally hindi nasasagot. Mas mabuting siguraduhin natin na sumunod sa proseso ang anumang kaso na ating diringgin para hindi masayang ang ating oras. Sang-ayon po ako na hindi natin ito dapat patagalin. Kahit si Vice President Sara Duterte gusto naman harapin ang kaso, ngunit wala ring dapat may gusto na madaliin po ito. Paano kung magsimula na tayo ngayon at magdesisyon ang Supreme Court na unconstitutional ang ginawang procedure ng House of Representatives? Paano kung sabihin nila na hindi pwedeng tumawid sa 20th Congress? Ano ang magiging aksyon natin? This puts us in a possible conflict with the decision of the Supreme Court. We must be prudent about this matter. Mr. Presiding Officer, I just want to reiterate, hindi ko po tinatalikuran ang aking sinumpaang mandato. Tungkulin ko yan as Senator Judge, kahit araw-araw tayong maglitis dito. But we would also be remiss of our duty kung hindi natin siguraduhin na dumaan ito sa tamang prosesong nakasaad sa ating konstitusyon. At kilala ko po ang mga Duterte, Mr. Presiding Officer. Hindi sila tumatakas sa accountability, hindi sila tumatalikod sa hamon ng buhay, hindi sila tumatalikod sa kanilang tungkulin. Maraming beses nang sinabi ni dating Pangulong Duterte na handa nga siyang sumagot at harapin ang mga inaakusa sa kanya, pero dito po sa ating bayan, hindi sa ibang bansa. Nabanggit din po ni Vice President Sara Duterte na handa siyang harapin ang impeachment case laban sa kanya. Hindi ito issue ng pagtakas sa accountability. Ang gusto natin dito, siguraduhin na nasunod ang tamang proseso. We must respect and abide by the procedure laid out in our Constitution. Hindi pwedeng mamili lang tayo ng mga provision na ating susundin. We are all bound to the rule of law and we must follow due process. That is all, Mr. Presiding Officer.
Thank you, Senator Go. Before Senator Ontiveros, Chair would like to first acknowledge Senator Padilla. What is the pleasure of Senator Judge Padilla?
Maraming salamat po, Tagapangulong Pinunong Hukom. Mga mahal kong hukom, alam ko po na napakainit at napakamabigat ang hangin dito sa ating bulwagan. Punong-puno ng tensyon, palaisipan, pero habang abala po tayo sa politika, maraming mahalagang panukala ang hindi nabibigyan ng pansin. Mga panukalang batas na hindi tungkol sa kapangyarihan, kundi tungkol sa buhay, sa sakit, sa gutom, sa karapatan ng manggagawa. Tulad na lamang po ng medical cannabis bill. Hindi po ito usaping droga. Ito'y usaping dignidad. Araw-araw may mga batang may epilepsy, may mga cancer patients, may mga nanay at tatay na umiiyak sa sakit, humihingi ng legal na lunas. Nandito na po ang solusyon, pero pinapatagal pa natin. Gaano ba katagal natin hahayaang magdusa ang kapwa natin? Isa pa po, ang mga panukala ukol sa pagtataas ng minimum wage ng mga manggagawa sa pribadong sektor. Hindi po nagpapahinga ang presyo ng bilihin. Ang pamasahe, pagkain, renta, lahat po ay tumataas. Pero ang sahod, naiiwan. Kailangan po nating ipaglaban ang manggagawang Pilipino. Ibigay na natin ang nararapat para sa kanila. Isa pa po, ang Revised Cooperative Code Bill na nakapasa na sa ikatlong pagbasa sa mababang kapulungan at pinagdidiskusyonan pa rin sa komite sa Senado. Ito po para sa mga magsasaka, mangingisda at maliliit na negosyante. Pinal na sana, isang boto na lang, pero naisang tabi pa. Sila po ang bumubuhay sa probinsya. Sila rin ang tunay na haligi ng lokal na ekonomiya. Bakit natin sila pinaghihintay? Mga mahal kong kasama sa Senado, unang-una na po ang aking BFF. I love you, pare. Alam kong may kinakaharap tayong seryosong krisis pampolitika. Pero hindi po dahilan yon para kalimutan ang tunay na trabaho natin, ang maglingkod sa bayan. Ang hustisya pwedeng isabay sa serbisyo, hindi kailangang mamili. Pakiusap ko po, huwag nating hayaang matabunan ng ingay ng politika ang sigaw ng ordinaryong Pilipino. Habang pinagdidibatihan natin ang impeachment, may mga kababayang tayong hinihintay ang gamot, dagdag sahod at ng pag-asa. Bawat araw ng delay may nawawalan ng lakas ng loob. Bawat hindi pagtutok, may Pilipinong nawawala ang tiwala. Ilan lamang ito sa mga panukalang batas na naantala dahil sa usapin ng impeachment. Ito po ang panawagan ko bilang inyong kasama. Tulungan natin ang mga panukalang tunay na may silbi Panahon na po para pakinggan ang bayan. Naniniwala po ako na ang pag-usad ng impeachment ay hindi makabubuti sa ating bayan. Ang ganitong hakbang ay hindi lamang nagbubunsod ng lalong pagkakahati-hati ng ating sambayanan, kung hindi isa ring sagabal sa patuloy na pagganap ng ating mga tungkulin legislatura, lalo na po sa Senado. Sa halip na ituon natin ang ating oras, talino at lakas sa mga panukalang batas at programang makatutulong sa pagbangon ng ating ekonomiya at kapakanan ng mamamayan, tayo'y nalilihis sa usaping hindi agarang dapat aksyonan. Napapabalita pa nga na bumagsak po ang ating net foreign direct investment inflows ng bansa mula Marso ngayong taon dahil sa political instability. Pati na rin po ang ating turismo sa bansa. Mula Enero hanggang Abril nitong taon, ang dami ng dumarating na turista sa bansa ay bumaba ng 0.82% kumpara noong nakaraang taon. Lahat po ito, political instability. Mga mahal kong kasama, ang impeachment na ito ay napakarami ding tsismis, napakaraming iskandalo ng tungkol sa bayaran, sa alok, ng kung ano-ano. Dahil po dito, muli po, inihikayat ko ang aking mga kapwa lingkod bayan na bigyang prioridad ang pagkakaisa, katatagan ng ating institusyon at kapakanan ng sambayan ng Pilipino. Maraming salamat po.
Senator, what is the pleasure of Senator Judge Pimentel?
Since there is a motion, I think, Mr. President, and the motion is to dismiss the entire impeachment case. So this representation has no choice but to object to the motion. And if I can, just like the movement, if I can also now give my reasons, Mr. President.
The gentleman,
Before that, with the indulgence of the minority leader.
what is
and
the
Senator
pleasure of Senator Judge Cayetano?
Just to clarify the motion before we debate on it, because I heard Senator Bongo second, but he also stated that okay then i-remand. Because personally, I'm against the dismissal, but I would be willing to hear arguments on remanding. So I'm sorry, Senator Pimentel, I just want to know, is Senator Bongo actually proposing to amend the motion of Senator Judge Bato, and is Senator Judge Bato amendable to that? Sorry.
No, Mr. President, I was not confused at all because
No, I'm the one who's
Senator Go gave a seconding speech. So the motion stands. He is seconding the motion.
Pero yung laman, Mr. The reason I want to ask, because I will object with Senator Pimentel kung dismissal, but I will listen to the arguments kung remanding to the... No. So may I ask,
With the permission of the Senator Judges to have the floor, may we hear from the principal movement? Senator Bato is recognized.
Mr. President, my motion stands. I am for dismissal of the impeachment case, and I don't know if I am open. I am open for discussion. I heard the statement of Senator Alan Cayetano, but still, I have already filed the motion, Mr. President.
Mr. President, so let me continue now. I made my objection, and if I be allowed, just like the movement who gave reasons, if the the objecting judge can also give his reasons, Mr. President.
What is the pleasure of Senator Judge Villanueva?
Mr. President, this is to somehow give this representation's point of view with regard to the pending motion. And as I made mention a while ago, Mr. President, I am also objecting, Mr. President, respectfully. But hope springs eternal, Mr. President. Bigla kong narinig yung binanggit ni Senator Alan and Senator Bongo. And if I'll be able to explain later after the minority leader, perhaps this representation would be able to encourage and influence the original movement of the motion. So I yield the floor to our minority leader, Mr. President.
Chair would like to save the time of the court, so the chair will in the meantime allow Senator Pimentel to make of record his position, presumably against dismissal. Thereafter, before entertaining
Against the motion. Against the motion. Yeah.
against the motion, before entertaining other senator judges to speak, the Senate will the chair will suspend the session in case the appeals made will change anything, so that we will pursue this matter and put a matter to a vote with certainty. Senator Pimentel may proceed.
No, I think, Mr. President, the motion has been made, and this representation is objecting. So later on, we have to now process the motion and vote on it, because there is in a collegial body someone is objecting. Mr.
Senator Pimentel,
Yes.
you may proceed.
Yes, Mr. President. I will not address the political statements of the movant and the seconding parties, Mr. President. Ang tanong nila kung makakain ba daw itong impeachment process. Pero marami namang bagay sa buhay na importante rin na hindi nahahawakan. Tulad ng hustisya. Ang hustisya, hindi nga natin makita yan, hindi natin mahawakan niya, pero napakahalagang bagay po sa buhay ng tao. Ngayon, pagdating po sa Constitution, bakit inaangalan ko yung motion? The motion actually is unconstitutional, in the opinion of this representation, because according to Article 11, Section 3, Paragraph 6, per sentence lang yung babasahin ko, the Senate shall have the sole power to try and decide all cases of impeachment. So tignan natin, mga fellow senator judges, sole power. So ibig sabihin ng sole power, tayo lang ang may kapangyarihan, ang Senado lamang ang may kapangyarihan na mag-try and decide. So litisin ang isang impeachment case at hatulan, desisyonan. Ngayon kung aayaw tayo kaagad, ni hindi natin na-try, ang try is litis, palabas yung mga facts para ma-apply natin yung judgment natin sa facts, wala na pong matatakbuhang ibang body. That's why a motion which cuts short the entire process is unconstitutional. And then, same article, Section 3, Paragraph 4, basahin ko ulit ito, pero paulit-ulit ko na ito sinasabi when we were in legislative session. In case the verified complaint or resolution of impeachment is filed by at least one-third of all the members of the House, the same shall constitute the articles of impeachment, and trial by the Senate shall forthwith proceed. I believe, and I think I'm correct, that the impeachment case against the Vice President falls exactly under the facts assumed in Paragraph 4. This is the articles of impeachment filed by at least one-third of all the members of the House. Lampas-lampas pa nga sa one-third of all the members of the House. Therefore, what should the Senate do? Trial by the Senate shall forthwith proceed. So, trial means we bring out the facts so that we can now apply what is the mandate of the Constitution. Mag-decide tayo given the facts. Should that impeached official continue to remain in office, or should that impeached official be removed from office? High-ranking government official. So kung makita po natin, in two constitutional provisions, andun yung word na try, andun yung word na trial. So wala po tayong choice but to respect, lalo na ito, we fall squarely under this subparagraph 4 which I just read. We have to respect the decision of the overwhelming majority of the members of the House of Representatives, more than 1/3, because they are also the representatives of the people. If they find something worthwhile charging a high-ranking government official with an impeachment and impeaching that official, the Senate has no choice but to hold the trial. Bakit? Yung mga representatives ng taong bayan sa House of Representatives, gusto rin makita ng taong bayan, did they act properly? Did they act justly? Ano bang ebidensya nila? Ilabas yan. O kasi kung wala ring ebidensya, sinayang yung oras, sinayang yung resources, next election, lagot kayo sa inyong constituents. And then at the same time, a trial necessitates respecting the rights of the parties. We are also respecting the right of the impeached official kasi kaya nga tawag sa kanya, impeached officer na siya eh. So, na-tarnish na nga actually ang kanyang reputation in public service ng House of Representatives. The trial will give that impeached officer the chance to clear his or her name and at the same time maybe rebuild his or her reputation, Mr. President. And then, since the presiding officer, when we adopted the rules, when he made the motion to adopt our rules, we did not only adopt our Senate rules on impeachment, we also adopted some rules of the rules of court and then some circulars and some amendments. In a court proceeding, ito by analogy, we are actually like a court. In a court proceeding, since the judge should observe the cold neutrality of an impartial judge, yung mga pagkakamali or pagkukulang alleged sa complaint, sa information, it should be the affected or aggrieved party which should raise that before the judge or before the judges in a collegial body. Yun po yung tamang kilos ng cold, neutral, and impartial judge. Let the parties point this out to us. Therefore, even if you want to entertain this, although ako sabi ko it's unconstitutional, we cannot entertain this, in the normal court processes, this may even be premature to entertain because let's await the answer to be filed by the impeached official. Tignan natin if she, the impeached officer, will point this all to us. And then, sabi ko nga, ang daming facts na kailangan natin malaman. Did yung mga 10 days, 3 days, and then it requires familiarity with the rules of the House. So, Mr. President, for all these reasons, I object to the motion, but my anchor argument is that it is unconstitutional. The Senate, as the impeachment court, cannot cut short the process by dismissing an impeachment complaint, Mr. President. Thank you.
Senator Ontiveros is recognized. You may proceed, ma'am.
Salamat po, Mr. Presiding Officer. I too object to the motion of Senator Judge De La Rosa. A motion to dismiss is not found. Hindi po nahahanap itong motion to dismiss sa Rules of Procedure on Impeachment na literal ka-adapt lang po natin. At kung mayroon man, hindi Senator Judge ang magre-raise nun, kundi ang defendant. Si Vice President Sara Duterte ang dapat mag-raise niyan. Higit pa po, naniniwala ako na